fact, if you even criticise any element of the immigration policies of the last two governments, you're racist. And yet the Home Secretary, Shubham Mahmood, tries to copy our policies.
Patriotism, a force for good, is turning into something smaller, something more like ethno-nationalism, which struggles to accept that someone who looks like me and has a faith like mine can truly be English or British.
Britain is being invaded. Thousands of fighting-age men from countries that despise Britain continue to arrive on our beaches. Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. Immediate removal. Deportation is the ultimate deterrent.
Our flags flying proudly as we celebrate difference and oppose racism.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
We can all see that the country faces a choice, a defining choice. Britain stands at a fork in the road. We can choose decency, or we can choose division, renewal or decline.
To accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to be going to a party, sort of university reunion thing, but it's been called off because everybody's got COVID. One of my mates said, well, I'll be there, but I'll be wearing a mask. I said, well, enjoy. So I thought rather than go and catch COVID, I would lumber you lot with me again. So, good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 blockbuster hours of breaking news, challenging views and topical debate. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 03444991000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, October the 1st. Here's what's coming up. A galaxy of lackey Labour MPs appear to be dwelling on a different planet as they hail Keir Starmer's dirty tricks conference speech as some kind of triumph. Crazed clowns dancing around like demented dervishes, thrilling to their plummeting party's filthy tactics, baselessly linking Nigel Farage and Reform UK to racism. For me, this low-life spectacle is depressing to behold. But what do you think? Have Two-Tier and his craven cabinet crew plunged British politics into the gutter? 03444991000. Almost as one, millions of decent Brits rose up in horror when Oafish Justice Secretary David Lammy said on TV that Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth, a heinous lie that he was later forced to retract. Does this gormless government really think that we don't know what they're up to? Tell a damaging lie about your opponent and later take it back in the full knowledge that by then the false mud will have stuck. Like that other muckraker, Business Secretary Peter Kyle, who spread the repulsive slur that Nigel Farage was on the side of Jimmy Savile. What a horrible thing to say. Have Kyle, Keir and their gang got no shame? It's transparent, it's sordid, and no one's falling for it. But most of all, it's desperate. Starmer knows the nation is flocking to reform. He knows that Labour's record after 14 months of non-stop failure has been disastrous. So, without having a single positive word to say about his hopelessly incompetent administration, he thuggishly attacks reform. Now the squirming Prime Minister is lying about Brexit, causing the migrant crisis, and even more pathetically, dubbing the dinghies currently crossing the channel in their droves Farage boats. stand by for his conniving cabinet cronies to constantly squawk that ludicrous term like pathetic parrots. Do they really think we're stupid enough to fall for asinine slogans and made-up smear campaigns? 03444991000. And in his rebuttal address yesterday, was Farage right to evoke the death of Charlie Kirk and warn that the kind of dialed-up OTT rhetoric two tiers political yobs are resorting to leads to violence? Are Labour playing a dangerous game? 03444991000. And is the Reform leader also right when he says that by employing this bottom-trawling, below-the-belt strategy, Keir Starmer is not fit to be Prime Minister? 03444991000. In other news, the ongoing invasion of the not-so-small boats is extraordinary. Since Saturday, a veritable armada of migrants has been pouring across the Channel from France. Large numbers of these illegal foreigners are now arriving on mega dinghies carrying as many as 125 passengers. Since Saturday, when a stellar 895 arrived in the Promised Land, 1,899 migrants have made the 21-mile voyage, and hundreds more were reported to be on their way today. So that's more than 2,000 in just 5 days. So, Keir and allegedly hard-as-nails new Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, how's that one-in, one-out deterrent going? 03444991000. But great fun to hear old two-tier bringing back from the dead in his conference speech his hilarious punchline, "Smash the gangs." Could this guy even smash an egg? 03444991000. Also tonight, a former police detective's shocking story of child sex exploitation in London as Pipsqueak Mayor Sadiq Khan continues to deny that the capital has a rape gang problem. More on those deeply unpopular digital ID cards that Starmer didn't even mention in his speech. Has he gone off them too? 03444991000. And also another case of cops calling on a man and arresting him for tweets. These tweets were anti-Hamas. He's been arrested for potentially, allegedly, causing racial hatred, inciting racial hatred. More of that later. We'll show you the video later. And I'll ask a member of Turning Point UK, the British branch of tragic Charlie Kirk's organisation, what he thinks about Labour's incendiary verbal assaults on Nigel Farage and Reform. Can calling people racist lead to violence? 03444991000. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now, on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together. And I'm very pleased to welcome to the show Reform UK's, I guess, newest MP, former Tory, of course. He's the MP for East Wiltshire, Danny Kruger. Welcome, Danny.
Hello, Kevin.
Well, first of all, I mean, we do have to discuss what's been going on, well, the past few days, really, but certainly since Keir Starmer's speech. I mean, you know, throwing around terms like racist, immoral, and so on and so forth. The Labour Party today being roundly accused of taking British politics into the gutter. I thought we did reach a very low point after Keir Starmer's speech when the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, went onto TV and accused Nigel Farage of flirting with the Hitler Youth. I mean, in itself, what an absurd thing to say. The Hitler Youth, for obvious reasons, kind of went out of fashion in 1945 with the death of Hitler and the end of the Second World War. Nigel Farage was born 19 years later in 1964. Of course, then Lammy retracted the statement. Oh, yes, well, he's denied it. I have to accept that. Didn't apologise. But you know what they're up to. We know what they're up to. They're just slinging mud in the knowledge that it will stick. It is very low down, isn't it? Very dirty tactics. I'm kind of surprised. Are you?
Well, I guess I am surprised, and I shouldn't have been, really. What we've got is a strange sort of inversion, isn't it? I mean, they for years have been accusing Reform politicians and Boris Johnson before that of using divisive language, demonising the other and so on. And but neither Nigel nor anyone in Reform, or Boris for that matter, have ever accused mainstream politicians of these kind of worst possible affiliations, literally being Nazis, saying we're racist, and not, of course, not by just us, Nigel and the politicians, but by implication the millions of people who agree with Nigel. And they try and wriggle out of it by saying, oh, we don't think, that the followers of Reform are racist, or even saying Nigel's a racist. They now sort of backtrack, but something's racist. They want to say that. So it is pretty disgraceful. And what really is going on, of course, is it's an attempt to delegitimize Reform altogether. They can't attack the policies that we're coming out with because they know that these policies are popular. And in fact, they try and ape these policies, as we saw this week with Labour's sort of pale imitation of our position on indefinite leave to remain. So they can't attack the policies, so they attack the people. And by suggesting that Reform, that we're racist, that we're Nazi, it's an attempt just to put us out of mainstream respectable political debate altogether. So it's profoundly undemocratic in its purpose. And as Nigel and Zia said, it's also dangerous because it will justify, proper lunatics, dangerous people who think that we're fair game.
And of course, Nigel, in his rebuttal speech yesterday, which was far more stirring in my view than Starmer's conference speech, he cited the case of Charlie Kirk, quite rightly in my view, pointing out that this kind of dialed up, dangerous, over-the-top rhetoric can lead to serious violence. We also learned today that Nigel Farage, of course, the poor guy, does require security everywhere he goes. As a party leader, that's been provided and paid for by the Exchequer. But we learned today that that's been slashed by 75%. That's a bit strange, isn't it? And would you just bear with me, Danny, when just to reiterate the point about the kind of things that Labour are saying about your party and Nigel Farage. This is the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood at the conference.
Do you think Nigel Farage is racist?
I think that Nigel Farage is actually almost worse than that. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he's being extremely cynical. He knows that with some of the policies he's put forward, which are on indefinite leave to remain, for example, immoral and in my view extreme, he is sending that dog whistle to every racist in the land, but he wants to retain some respectability for himself whilst he does it, and that's what we're challenging.
Do you think he is racist himself?
Look, it's for Nigel Farage to explain who and what he is. I'm saying I can see that behaviour. No, I can see. No, I can see the behaviour that he's indulging in, and I'm calling it out.
Yeah, OK. And one more clip, if you don't mind, Danny. This is part of Starmer's speech yesterday. Again, I think outrageously saying, whatever you think about Nigel Farage, he does not hate Britain, quite the reverse. But here's Starmer claiming just that.
We can all see these snake oil merchants on the right, on the left, but be in no doubt, conference, none of them have any interest in national renewal, because decline is good for their business. When was the last time that you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like Britain, doesn't believe in Britain, wants you to doubt it just as much as he does.
I mean, Danny, you're an old stager. You've been in the Westminster bear pit for some time, but doesn't that anger you? Don't these smear tactics anger you? They kind of anger me because they're so transparent. I mean, this is what they're just slinging mud around, knowing it's all a lie, hoping that it sticks. And, I guess I'm being too idealistic, but you would hope that British politics didn't stoop to such low-down strategies.
I think it is a new low, and it is cynical. It's what's so interesting about Shabana Mahmood's comments there. She clearly can't bring herself to say that Nigel Farage is a racist. A, because it's just plainly untrue. I mean, it's just not the case. And the public know that. They know him well. They've seen him for many, many years. They might not just agree with him. They might not even like him, but they know that he's just, frankly, an ordinary Brit who has decent social attitudes. He might differ with you on Brexit or even immigration, but they know that it's not true when to call him a racist, and they know that it would be totally unacceptable for them to do so. So they pretend. So they're the ones dog whistling to their own far left in order to try and prop up their desperate and failing government. And yes, and for Starmer to suggest that Nigel doesn't love this country. I mean, Starmer went into politics. His only governing philosophy, the only idea he actually has, the only God in his world is the Human Rights Act. That's what basically brought him into politics in the first place, and it's the lodestar of his ideology. That act explicitly puts European law and European judges as sovereign in our country. He's the one who doesn't believe in our country, let alone in parliamentary democracy. And for him to be doing what he's doing now, which is trying to rule out the party which is currently on course to win the next election from democratic legitimacy, to say that we shouldn't be listened to because we're racist and Nazi, was profoundly anti-democratic.
I detest this phrase, but it is apposite, that Nigel Farage is living rent-free in Keir Starmer's head, and indeed living rent-free in the entire Labour Party's consciousness, if you ask me. Do you think that, your former party, the Tories, barely got a mention in his hour-long speech yesterday? He made a bit of a joke about it, just saying, oh, do you remember the Tories? Everybody laughed and all that. They barely got a mention. And yet, throughout the speech, reform, 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 Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage. Do you think that will backfire on him? Do you think that raising the profile of reform and Nigel like this will actually be good for reform and bad for Labour?
Probably, yes. I mean, just as calling us racists won't work. I mean, we see this around the world when mainstream politicians are accused of being racist. Moderate people flock to them because they realise that the people accusing them of that are mad and bad. So, yeah, I think this will backfire. I mean, on the other hand, he's right to do this. I mean, this is the sad fact for me as a former Conservative. I mean, my former party has been eclipsed by reform. Reform now represents the best hope for the right in British politics, and indeed for the whole country, in my view. That's why it's important that all people on the right get behind them. And Starmer is correct to say, the country stands at a fork in the road. That was the point he made in his speech. I mean, we obviously typify the two options totally differently. One way it's international human rights and net zero and mass migration. On the other hand, it's common sense, controlled borders, parliamentary sovereignty, and prosperity. And to this point that Nigel doesn't have a positive vision for the future, he's actually an extremely upbeat and optimistic person. He has a great hope for our country. We just need to undo all the damage that Labour have done and that sadly the Tories did before them.
And just before we go to break, we need to talk about the ECHR and the migrant crisis after the break. But
before my dog in.
What was that?
Keep yapping if I don't let
was that your
in.
Dog? Sorry.
Yeah, he's sort of yapping at the door, so there we go.
Okay.
Go on.
It's okay. I have that problem as well. I've got a dog that's just as bad. Just quickly, though, by extension, I mean, we're at this station, I'm looking at my switchboard now. In terms of this rebounding, backfiring on Labour, I think millions of people around the country, not necessarily just Reform supporters or Reform members, but millions of people around the country agree with Nigel Farage and agree with Reform's policies to tackle the migrant crisis. And they feel that Starmer, by extension, is calling them racists as well. So I really do think he may have stirred up a really negative hornet's nest for himself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. If he actually cared about this country, if he actually cared about his own position with the general public, with the country as a whole, he wouldn't be doing this, because, as you say, he's insulting millions of people, and indeed millions of moderate people who agree with Nigel, might not yet have decided to vote for reform, but recognise we have a problem with our borders, and it's not racist to point that out. But of course, what Starmer's actually doing is facing an absolute crisis of his own position in his own party. So he's doing what beleaguered leaders do, which is turn around and face his own people and try and to stir up support there. So he's speaking to the left, and indeed the hard left, and that's the way Labour is being dragged by its own backbenchers and by its own supporters. So yes, he is the one who's playing a very divisive game of politics here in order to try and shore up his position. And I'm sure you're right that it won't help them in the long run. And come the next election, well, come the elections in May, actually, when we're fighting lots of local elections and in Wales and Scotland, I'm confident and hopeful that the voters will send a message that this isn't what they're expecting from their Prime Minister.
I suspect, Danny, just before we go to break, Danny, that the Sunday papers might be interesting. I would imagine people are commissioning polls left, right and centre right now in the slipstream of Starmer's speech to see what effect they've had on the electorate. And my prediction will be that Reform will have gone up in the ratings, so it should be interesting in the few days to come. Let's go to break. When we come back, I need to talk to you about the migrant crisis, which is spiralling out of control. That next, everybody. Stay tuned.
I suppose the danger maybe is I have built up a community over the last year or two who I think feel that I am genuine and that I speak my true thoughts. I am not giving lines. You ask me a question, I will answer it as fairly and as truthfully as I can. And maybe that is a threat to, I don't know, a lack of authenticity. I don't know is the truth. I've just found it. I'm not angry. It's upset me. It's hurtful. And I think, I've slugged my guts out for this party and continue to try and do so in many ways. And this is the thanks you get.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Reform UK MP for East Wiltshire, Danny Kruger. Danny, can we talk about the migrant crisis? Because it really does right now seem to be spiralling out of control. And we're going to do these figures from the top of my head, so they might be slightly inaccurate, but I don't think they are. Saturday, 895. Sunday, 403. Monday, 70. Yesterday, 531. And we're hearing that hundreds more are coming over as we speak throughout today. So in 4 days until yesterday, that's 1,899 migrants have crossed the channel illegally. By the way, in increasingly, we call them small boats. They're getting bigger. There are these dinghies coming across with 125 people. Yesterday, 531 people in just 7 boats. So calling them small boats is a bit of a misnomer. We're hearing hundreds more today. So within 5 days, we're talking about more than 2,000 migrants crossing the channel illegally. Meanwhile, Starmer's at his conference saying, oh, we're going to take difficult decisions. We're taking difficult decisions on the migrant crisis. We've got Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, saying, I'll stop at nothing to solve the migrant crisis. Well, she won't leave the ECHR. She won't stop putting them in 4-star hotels. She won't stop giving them free food. She won't stop giving them free doctors and free dentists. She won't stop giving them free lawyers to fight their cases to stay. This government doesn't have any answers. The one-in, one-out scheme, I think we've sent 6 to France and they've sent 3 here. It's supposed to be a deterrent. What on earth is it for? This is a very, very alarming situation. We have a government that is not doing a damn thing about a crisis that, as I say, is spiralling out of control.
Well put. And the public have been furious for years now because they see the state failing in its most essential and obvious duty, which is to protect our borders. What else is the government for? And when it can't do it against, an unarmed group of men coming over in plain sight on dinghies, is utterly preposterous. And the fact is, there is a way to do this. It would stop the migration at a stroke, which is to ensure that every single person who lands on our shores illegally is immediately detained and swiftly deported. And there is a logistical challenge to that. Obviously, you need to have detention capacity for a short period because it wouldn't take long before they stop coming. But you do need to have capacity for some thousands. But crucially, it's a legal challenge because you need to be able to get the Home Office and private contractors and the airlines to actually physically remove these people. And at the moment, they won't do that because lawyers go to court and they get a sympathetic judge to issue an injunction. Or indeed, the civil servants refuse to do it in the first place because they think that their employment rights prevent them from doing so. So what we need is a government that has the absolute will to come in and from the first day of the new government's term, pass the laws, change the rules, extract us from the international human rights obligations, create the capacity for detention, and do that absolutely resolutely, and having signalled it very clearly in advance that is what's going to happen. And I wish the Conservatives had done that in the last Parliament. I'm deeply ashamed that they didn't, and it's one of the main reasons I left. Labour clearly will not do any of those things. Only Reform will do it.
And with deport and detain, would that include women and children?
Yes. Anybody who arrives here illegally needs to be removed. It doesn't need to be inhumane. In fact, it must not be inhumane. What is inhumane is creating an incentive for people to risk their lives crossing the channel and then encouraging them to effectively work in the black economy once they've arrived. That's the inhumanity of our current system. Also, of course, what we're doing is privileging mostly fit young men, you can see on your screen there, I don't notice many women and children there, yes. Over the genuinely vulnerable in the developing world, who we should be concerned about. And where we have capacity for refugees, we should be prioritising those genuinely vulnerable people in direct harm's way in the world's hellholes, not fit, rich young men who have managed to get to the coast of France. So I don't have any difficulty with asserting this policy on humanitarian grounds as well as on the grounds of justice for the British taxpayer.
And one last point, the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. We're being, Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, is being touted to us as hard as nails, tough as old boots. She's the one who's going to solve this crisis. She's even on the front page of The Spectator, the Tory sort of Bible this week, done up like the Terminator, as if she's Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. Now, she's not tough. As I say, she's going to carry on putting them in hotels, giving giving them free food, free accommodation, free doctors, free dentists and free lawyers. And she's going to stick us in, we're going to carry on in the European Convention of Human Rights. And as long as we are in that, we cannot make our own sovereign decisions. So I don't think that leaving the ECHR immediately solves our migrant crisis. But if we don't, we have no chance of solving it. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's necessary, but not sufficient. There's other things that need to be done as well. And I agree with you about Shabana Mahmood. I mean, I do have some respect for her. For Labour, she actually talks some sense. She seems to have an idea that actually we should prioritise British citizens over foreigners, and particularly over illegal migrants. She has come out with a sort of pale version of our own policy about legal migration, which is to restrict the rights of future migrants to stay here indefinitely. But actually, she's not unwinding the real problem we've got, which is the recent wave of migration. But no, she's being talked up as a sort of right wing. I mean, Michael Gove, my old friend, who's the editor of The Spectator, I think is enjoying, creating another kind of person to idolise, which he likes to do. But I don't think it'll wash. I think in practice, we're going to see Shabana Mahmood exposed as just another Labour politician who might talk tough, but actually their ultimate loyalty, because they follow Keir Starmer and they follow the Labour tradition, their ultimate loyalty is to international human rights, not to parliamentary sovereignty, let alone to the principle of national preference and putting our own people first, which is the only proper basis for a democracy.
Can I ask one last question? One in, one out. Many of us are finding this completely baffling. It's supposed to be a deterrent. So far, we have sent 6 people to France, returned 6 people to France under this scheme, and France has sent us 3, as I said earlier. Meanwhile, 2,000 illegal migrants crossed the channel from France in the last 4 or 5 days. What on earth is one in, one out for? I mean, it's clearly not a deterrent. So what is the purpose of it?
Well, I suppose the theory is that if they genuinely return every single person who came to our shores back to France, that would be a deterrent. And they're prepared to pay for that by taking the same number of people sent to us by the French government. So the illegal migrants would be deterred from doing it. But we're still getting the same number of migrants, at least in the short term, until the deterrent works. But fundamentally, it won't work unless they do it at such a scale that everybody knows they're being detained and deported. I mean, I just think the clearest and simplest thing to do is to ensure that everybody is removed, either back to their own country or back to France. By all means, let's have a deal with them, or to a safe third country, which is what Rwanda was for. And I'm not saying the Rwanda policy was perfect. I resigned from, I broke the whip because I didn't think it was strong enough. But we do need places to send them, and we can set that up. Other countries have done that. But we absolutely have to be totally clear. You will not be allowed to stay or claim asylum if you land here illegally. If you want to claim asylum, do it in the proper way. Queue up with everybody else.
Very sensible, Danny, and very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please come on the show again. Danny Kruger there, making his first appearance on the Political Asylum. He is the Reform UK MP for East Wiltshire, and you will recall that not so long ago he was the biggest named defector from the Tories so far, really, because he was the first sitting Tory MP to cross the House, as it were, and join Reform. And he's regarded as a real political heavyweight, a deep-thinking politician. So it was good to have him on board. Let me know what you think about some of the things he was saying detain and deport all migrants who arrive here illegally, women and children as well. Doesn't have to be inhumane, but that's what he's saying. Let me know what you think about that. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we'll carry on with the migrant crisis with Robert Bates. He is the director for the Centre for Migration Control. We'll talk about that with Robert next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Couple of bits of breaking news before Robert Bates joins us. First up, Greta Thunberg's Mercy Flotilla, whatever they're calling it, the Gaza Flotilla, has got more than 50 boats in it. I mean, it's like an armada. They're only a mile off Gaza. This is seriously dangerous. But they expect to be intercepted by Israelis imminently. I hope so, for their own safety. Honestly, it's so irresponsible. So once again, the Israelis are going to go out and save these idiots for their own safety, just like they did before. That doom goblin, Greta Thunberg, God, she's a menace. She's an absolute menace. She's a child. She needs to grow up. This is a serious situation. But the flotilla, more than 50 boats, just off the coast of Gaza. The Israelis are expected to intercept it soon for Greta and her crew's own safety. It's pathetic, isn't it? More sadly, Jane Goodall, the conservationist and animal rights activist, who I met once in Los Angeles, had a very nice 2-hour interview with a lovely lady. She has died at the age of 91. R.I.P. Jane Goodall. Now, let's go straight over now to the director for the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Hi, Robert.
Good evening, Kev. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, mate. Well, look, I've just been talking to Danny Kruger. The sheer scale of the number of migrants that have been coming across the channel since Saturday is phenomenal. We expect that by tomorrow, in 5 days, it will have been more than 2,000. So far since Saturday, 1,899. So the one in, one out deterrent, not exactly firing on all cylinders, is it? Now, let's talk about what Starmer's been up to since his speech, his rallying cry to the Labour faithful at the Labour conference. He went on the media today, the Today programme on Radio 4 and other outlets, and he said that Nigel Farage is to blame for the migrant crisis because it's Brexit that is causing this problem, this crisis. And that's because Brexit took Britain out of the Dublin Convention. The Dublin Convention, while we were in the EU, did indeed allow us to return asylum seekers to the EU, and they could return theirs to us. Now, that's just a lie. I mean, yes, we're out of the Dublin Convention. I'll give you an example. In 2018, for example, Britain asked to return 5,500 asylum seekers to Europe under the Dublin Convention. Europe agreed to 209 of them. So in an entire year under the Dublin Convention, we returned to Europe, to the EU countries, 209 asylum seekers. Meanwhile, under the terms of that same convention, the UK was forced to accept 1,215 migrants back from EU countries. So there you have it. That year we were sort of in deficit, if you like, to the tune of 1,000 migrants. So the Dublin Convention never ever did allow us to advantageously return our migrants to Europe, because in fact we ended up with more. So when he cites the Dublin Convention, it's either due to sheer ignorance or more likely he's just lying. And incredibly, because he says, well, without Brexit we'd have still been in the Dublin Convention and everything would have been fine, we'd have been, you know, solving the migrant crisis wouldn't exist. And because of that, he is now dubbed the dinghies that are coming across right now in their droves from France Farage boats. Who does he think he's kidding?
Yeah, he's a barefaced liar, and he's lost his mind over the last couple of days, of course, not just on this, but when it comes to talking about reforms indefinitely to remain policy as well. So this is a man that spent pretty much the entirety of the 2016 to 2019 period vociferously campaigning against Brexit. It is pretty much the very core of who he is as a politician. This is someone that was absolutely obsessed with the Remain campaign and the rearguard Remain campaign even after that referendum. And you're absolutely right to cite those statistics. The Dublin regulations effectively, especially when the migrant crisis really kicked off in Europe after 2015, effectively allowed Europe to use the UK as its dumping ground. We took, under that scheme, almost 3 times as many migrants from Europe as we were actually able to return. And even then, they were small numbers. And as you say, many of our requests were being rejected. And we're now at a point now where the small boats crisis is such a big, salient political issue that Starmer's really desperately tried to link it to an issue where he feels more comfortable, put himself on terrain where he feels like he's able to talk with authority, which is Brexit. I think it's a ridiculously large jump to try and pin in any way, shape or form the explosion of the small boats onto Brexit, because of course they were starting in 2018, whilst despite having voted to leave, we were still a member of the European Union. He's doing all he can to avoid taking any accountability for the proliferation and the explosion of small boats crossings that we've seen under his watch. I think we're about to hit 58,000 have crossed since he became Prime Minister. And, you know, they're being put up in hotels across the country at our expense, at the taxpayers' expense. They're, you know, committing crimes, sometimes heinous crimes, sometimes allegedly crimes. They're costing us an absolute fortune. And all the while they're being given absolute goodies left, right and centre as well. So the whole system is broken. And I think blaming it on Brexit is really desperately trying to reheat arguments that were won way back 6 years ago now.
So it's just not true that Brexit caused the migrant crisis. It's a preposterous suggestion. It's a preposterous thing to say. And then to label them, I'm not here to sort of eulogise about Nigel Farage, but to try to call these dinghies coming over from France Farage boats, that is desperate stuff, isn't it?
And it's something that no one would believe because it's so palpably ridiculous. And of course, actually what Brexit has done is it's liberated us from the mess that the EU is heading towards with its current asylum pact, which would actually see countries such as Britain, if we were still a member, burdened with even more migrants being sent from those frontier countries on the Mediterranean and in Eastern Europe. There's a whole sort of idea of a greater sharing of the burden. That would actually mean that we were having to take even more from Europe. So in a way, we should actually be thanking Brexit and the liberation of our sovereignty from the EU superstate for delivering us a situation where we're not getting dragged into the mess. Because although we have our own problems on our border, the way things are heading in certain parts of Europe really are disastrous. And I think so long as we manage to make ourselves completely unentailed with whatever is going on there, and this is why the France deal is such a concern, because it seems to be starting to edge us back towards European cooperation. If we can keep ourselves at arm's length from the chaos on the continent, then we've got a better chance of stopping the boats and stopping illegal migration than we would do if we were still in the EU.
I'll tell you what we'll do now, Robert. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll deal with some of the elements of Starmer's ludicrous conference speech. Did you notice that he brought back from beyond the grave that old slogan, the hilarious slogan, "Smash the gangs"? He actually said that. So we haven't heard that for a while. As I said in my monologue, I don't think this guy could smash an egg, let alone these gangs. It's unbelievable. But we also need to talk about the way this crisis really, you know, since Saturday, has just exploded. It is spiralling out of control, and we clearly have a government that incapable of doing anything about it. And I also want to discuss with you this alarming new development that you know, we call them small boats. We're going to have to come up with a new name for them because they've got these super mega dinghies, as they call them now, that have got as many as 125 people in them. Yesterday's tally, which was 531, there's 7 boats. Think about that. I mean, you know, so these are enormous boats coming across now. Because usually in the past, when you had 531, it would be something like, you know, 30 boats or something like this. The boats are getting bigger. The number of migrants coming over is getting bigger. Everything is getting worse. We'll talk about that after this break. Stay tuned, folks.
suppose the danger maybe is I have built up a community over the last year or two who I think feel that I am genuine and that I speak my true thoughts. I am not given lines. You ask me a question, I will answer it as fairly and as truthfully as I can. And maybe that is a threat to, I don't know, a lack of authenticity. I don't know is the truth. I've just found it. I'm not angry. It's upset me. It's hurtful. And I think, I've slogged my guts out for this party and continue to try and do so in many ways. And this is the thanks you get.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with the Director for the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Robert, I was just discussing with Danny Kruger from Reform that something's been happening since Saturday. Apparently the channel's been like a mill pond. And when the channel gets calm, they just start piling over. And the statistics since Saturday are sort of jaw-dropping. 895 on Saturday, 403 on Sunday, light day on Monday, 70. Yesterday, 531, and or rather Tuesday, 531. And today we are hearing that hundreds more are coming over. So that will add up to considerably over 2,000 in just 5 days. And so you're thinking, what is this one in, one out scheme all about? So far, we've returned 6 migrants to France. They've sent 3 back here. Meanwhile, this armada invasion is going on. And we have a government that's making speeches saying we're going to have to make difficult decisions on the migrant crisis. They may not be popular. What decisions? What on earth are they doing? Shabana Mahmood, I'll stop at nothing to solve this crisis. As I just said to Danny, well, she's carrying on, letting them go into 4-star hotels, giving them free food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers to fight their case to stay, and so on. And so the enticements, the encouragements for migrants to come across to the promised land, they're still there. And this government isn't doing anything about it. And as I say, the last 5 days, the scale of the numbers of people coming across the channel, frankly, has been frightening. It really, we seem to be reaching some kind of crisis, serious crisis, peak crisis point here, don't we?
So I think what's happened is we've seen a couple of days where those crossings weren't perhaps viable because of the weather, but that hasn't meant the demand has gone away, and therefore we've seen a huge surge in these last few days, and we've seen the introduction now of these effective super dinghies, these absolutely huge numbers of individuals coming across on one vessel. And I think that shows us 2 things. First of all, we might think that we're out of the woods when we see a couple of days of no crossings, but really actually the demand is still as strong as ever. And secondly, it shows us all this talk, as you said, of smashing the gangs really is leading to very little, because people smugglers are adapting. And, a couple of dinghies, smaller dinghies, might be getting popped, but it's very clear with the use and the increasing use, I think that's 2 now that we've seen in the last couple of days of these super dinghies, is that the people smugglers have figured out another way around some of the elements that have been put in place to try and smash the gang. So it's really a situation that we're being told by Labour, and they're desperately insisting that the numbers in August suggest that the crisis is now abating and that somehow we should be thankful for their genius. It's far from the case. And as for what the Home Secretary was talking about, stopping at nothing, well, I don't think she'd be able to go anywhere near talking about the ECHR in the manner that it needs to be discussed in terms of leaving it completely. I think Lord Hermer and Keir Starmer would have very stern words with her if she even suggested that. Of course, we've seen them floating a conversation about reforming Articles 3 and 8 of it, or at least trying to have a conversation about it. I mean, I don't know when that conversation is actually going to begin, because they seem to just be saying we need to have a conversation about having a conversation about these articles. It's a ridiculous situation where we all know what the solution or the first step to solving this problem is, which is to overhaul our human rights and modern slavery framework. And then we can have a discussion about immigration tribunals, about the way that judges and left-wing lawyers and charities are operating as well. But we can't do any of that effectively until we completely eradicate some of the problems that have been very, very clear now for 7 or so years. So this is a situation that, as much as the Labour Party are going to plead with us going into the winter that this is completely under control, it is far, far from it.
Yeah, of course we have to leave the ECHR. You can't pick and choose which clauses you agree to comply with. You can't, you're either in it or you're not. You can't say, well, can we just not worry about clause 3 and 8? It won't, that just won't fly. So that's nonsensical. Either we leave the ECHR or we cannot solve this crisis, because the ECHR stops us making our own sovereign decisions. And secondly, she's been making all these noises, old Shabana, hard as nails, tough as old boots Shabana, who's actually as soft and as useless as the rest of the Labour cabinet. They're just hopeless on this. She said, oh, well, from now on, migrants have got to speak English. They've got to have spotless criminal records. They've got to be working and not taking benefits. Well, how does that happen? You got 2,000 people come across the channel since Saturday. I'll guarantee you most of them don't speak English. So how does that work? Spotless criminal records, they're not exactly going to tell you all about their criminal records, are they? They'd have thrown their passports and their documents in the English Channel. So all this is sort of, they've got to speak English, there's criminal records, and they've got to be hard working. Well, they're not allowed to work for a year. This is just word soup. This is just headline hunting. It's utterly meaningless, all of this verbiage, isn't it?
It really was. The announcement the Labour Party made on what the requirements would be for an individual to be able to settle and make a life in the UK were frankly meaningless. I mean, when it comes to asylum seekers, refugees, illegal migrants, as normal people would call them, studies have been done by the Home Office and released in the last couple of weeks, which shows, the number of them that speak English to anywhere near an acceptable level that they can function in our society is effectively less than a fifth. When it comes to working, again, their economic activity rate is absolutely through the floor. Fewer than 1 in 3 people actually find any kind of work that are refugees. So these are individuals that we know, if they're allowed to stay, and a large number are allowed to stay despite having entered the country illegally, are going to impose long-term costs on the British taxpayer for the foreseeable future. And we can see this when it comes to universal credit figures, where tens of thousands, over 100,000 people that are on a refugee route are claiming universal credit. That's probably about 1 in 4 people with refugee status in this country are now sort of having their lifestyle subsidised by the British taxpayer. So she can talk tough as much as she wants, but if she's not prepared to get to the root causes, all of that is meaningless. When it comes to legal migration, I also think the Labour Party really have sold the British voters short with what they're offering, because of course the big issue is the so-called Boris wave that came between 2021 and 2024.
3.8 million who will soon qualify for benefits.
Yeah, and starting from the 1st of January, they'll start ticking through, they'll start getting given settled status and begin qualifying for benefits. And this is a ticking time bomb that the Labour Party, what they've talked about and what they set out during, what the Home Secretary set out during her speech, has pretty much turned a blind eye to and refused to even counter it, saying to those individuals that have really offered little to the UK since they arrived maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that we're sorry, thank you for all that you've done, but we really don't think that sort of you're going to be a long-term asset to the UK and that your contribution, economic or social, is going to be conducive to the public good going forward, and therefore we don't think we're going to renew your visa or give you settled status. So thank you and goodbye. She's not even had that conversation. Instead, she's tried to decry those that are trying to have that conversation as racist or worse than racist, actually, is what she said.
Worse than racist.
That's the phrase she uses. She's created a whole new tier of demonisation there as well.
Yes, and to go back to the criminal record aspect, I mean, legal or illegal, what does she propose? So you say to these people, you're from Syria, right? Have you got a criminal record? Have you committed a lot of crimes? Don't lie. Don't lie now. I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, they're not going to say, yes, well, I really cannot tell a lie. I'm a rapist, I'm a murderer, I'm a bank robber. It's, it's, as I say, when she says, you will not be allowed to stay if you've got a criminal record, it's pure verbiage. It doesn't make any sense in the real world.
No, and we only know the backgrounds of about 2% that come across on the sport boats. Only about 2% of them have documentation that they hand over. So that's another 98% of people that are, of course, let's not forget, being put next to schools, being put next to old people's homes around the country, about whom we know nothing some will have a criminal record. There's no doubt about that. Some will have very dark deeds in their past, and we see this with news stories time and time again of Albanians that have murdered someone in Albania and then been able to stay in the UK for 7 or so years. And this is just because we don't have the proper checks in place. We don't even have it for legal migration, so we're not going to be anywhere near competent enough to sort of engage with the necessary international databases to detect whether an illegal migrant has a criminal record. It's ridiculous, and we need a complete overhaul and a discussion about whether we need to start doing red lists of nationalities when it comes to legal migration, and whether actually we just need to have a policy of anyone that comes to the UK without documentation, as most small boats migrants do, never get the right to stay in the UK because we don't know anything about them.
Absolutely right. My favourite that cropped up not so long ago was a guy who said he was from Afghanistan. Whether he or not he was, I'm not entirely sure. But he arrived and said he was 15, got put into a Bournemouth school, ended up getting involved. I think he killed someone in Bournemouth High Street.
I think it was Thomas Roberts, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then it emerged that, of course he wasn't 15, he was 25, and he was a double murderer from Serbia. This is the nonsense that is going on. These people, they turn up, they're not going to tell us about their criminal records. As I say, this is just pure verbiage from Labour, and they stand no chance of solving this crisis unless they leave the ECHR. That's the starting block. Then there's still a lot to do after that. Robert, always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Robert Bates there, Director for the Centre of Migration Control. Next up, we're going to be talking about London's child sex problem. That next, stay tuned.
Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
According to Keir Starmer, if you think young men that illegally cross the English Channel should be detained and deported, you're racist. In fact, if you even criticise any element of the immigration policies of the last two governments, you're racist. And yet the Home Secretary, Shubham Mahmood, tries to copy our policies.
Patriotism, a force for good, is turning into something smaller, something more like ethno-nationalism, which struggles to accept that someone who looks like me and has a faith like mine can truly be English or British.
Britain is being invaded. Thousands of fighting-age men from countries that despise Britain continue to arrive on our beaches. Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. Immediate removal. Deportation is the ultimate deterrent.
Our flags flying proudly as we celebrate difference and oppose racism.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
We can all see that the country faces a choice, a defining choice. Britain stands at a fork in the road. We can choose decency, or we can choose division, renewal or decline.
To accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I should preface this feature with the news, the welcome news, I guess, that the ringleader of a rape gang in Rochdale, a guy called Mohammed Saeed, he's 65, he was known as the Boss Man. He's just been sentenced to 35 years in prison for raping girls on multiple occasions, two particular girls. So that's some good news. But the rape gang scandal, the most alarming thing about it is everybody knows It's still going on all over the country. Yeah, and by the way, let's get this on board. It is estimated that of these mostly vulnerable white girls who were preyed upon by mostly Pakistani men of Muslim men of Pakistani origin, as many as 250,000 of them, 250,000 victims. Think about that. So by logical extension, you'd want to have a look at London, the capital city, wouldn't you, to see if it's going on here. Now, we have a mayor, Sadiq Khan, who absolutely refuses point blank to even contemplate that it could be happening here. I've got with me a guest. He's a former Met Police detective, a bit like Maggie Oliver. He's a whistleblower, and he has the most shocking story of child sex abuse here in the capital. Welcome, John. Before we talk, this is the Tory leader, Susan Hall, here in London, of the London Assembly, the Tory leader, questioning the mayor, Sadiq Khan, on the possibility that there are grooming gangs, rape gangs, operating here in London. Have a look at this.
I asked you this question last week and you found every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex, that is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
It's so annoying, isn't it? I should add that when I talked about this guy, Mohammed Zahid, the boss man, getting 35 years in prison, these were two white girls who were the victims, as is often the case in these awful sagas. In fact, at Manchester Crown Court, altogether, 7 members of the boss man's gang were sentenced to a total of 148 years in prison. So another example of this awful scourge of rape gang activity, nefarious activity. Now, in the studio, as I said, I've got former Met Police Detective John Wedger. Before I think we both express our fury about the mayor's obfuscation, I mean, how can, do we have rape gangs operating in London? Could you explain the question? I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? How dare you? How dare you, you little pipsqueak, avoid that very direct and obvious question? Now, here, John Wedger, former police detective from the Met Police, is going to tell us now why we ought to be very, very worried about the mayor dodging these kind of questions. Tell us what you've found out, what you've been investigating, John.
Yeah, I mean, I concur. I mean, the anger I felt when I watched the interview there with Susan Hall, I mean, I can't express it, but this is a criminality which has been deliberately under-policed and ignored for a long, long time.
Here in London?
Here in London. If we look, 80% of all serious and organised crime occurs in London, nationally occurs in London, and that's a National Crime Agency statistic. London is one of the largest, urban conurbations in the Western world. It is undoubtedly the most diverse city in the world, and to say that this sort of abuse and criminality, vile criminality, does not go on is a massive lie. And I'm living testimony to the fact that it does go on, because I investigated this 20 years ago, and what I
when
found,
you were still a cop, yeah?
When I was a detective, yeah, and what I found was staggering. So staggering, in fact, when we look, because all we hear about are the provincial towns.
Yes, of course. Yeah, Rochdale, Rotherham.
Yeah, and predominantly Kashmiri taxi drivers. Let me tell you something. It is bigger and more diverse than that. The perpetrators are as diverse as a population, what we had was kids. The one consistency was the children were vulnerable. They were from the care system, whether, albeit a looked-after child, a foster child, or a child within residential
How old were
care.
these kids?
They ranged from 9 years to 14.
OK, so tell us exactly what was happening to these kids.
These were children...
Or what maybe is happening.
Yeah, it's still... Well, it's going on because they removed people like myself from the front line.
So tell us what
These
what
are
you found out.
children that are predated on due to their vulnerability. The grooming process has always been the same. It's an algorithm, and it will be used whether it's in the ecclesiastical homes or whatever. It's children that are coerced into sexual activity for some sort of
So these
reward.
kids are mostly, they're living in care homes.
They're care homes.
Orphanages.
So they'll be picked up. One case we dealt with, it was a woman, it was a prostitute that was picking them up.
Yeah.
She was sort of looking after them, doing their hair for them, doing their nails. She would then introduce them to men. They'd maybe watch pornography. They start smoking cannabis. And then this prostitute would then engage in a sexual activity with a guy and then encourage the girl to do the same.
How old would this girl be, for example?
Like I say, they range from 9 to 14. The average age was about 13, 14.
And who's paying for this service? Who are the guys?
Right, so the kids that I dealt with, so there were two major sort of criminal gangs that were operating when I was looking at them. So one in central London, the kids would be picked up in the morning and they were taken to a crack house. And anyone who's ever been in one of them places, they're the most despicable, awful, vile scenes.
Yeah.
The children were traded for 10 rocks a go within the...
10 rocks of crack cocaine.
Yeah, per child, to all the degenerates in the crack house. From there, they would then be taken to hotels around the Paddington, Sussex Gardens area.
Yeah.
So we had low-budget hotels which catered for the builders that came down from the north for a lot, the white van men, as they used to be called. There'll be a room put aside for an hourly rate, so the girls would be taken in there and they would be then introduced to these builders, whatever, who'd have sex with these kids.
Yeah.
From there, the kids were then taken to upmarket, like Arab restaurants around Mayfair and Curzon Street, and there they could be traded for as much as £2,000 per child per night.
What kind of numbers of kids are we talking about here?
Right, so when I started looking into it, it was 1, then it went to 2, then it went to 3. On one occasion, I found 10 children in 10 minutes. By the end of 3 days, I found 52 children.
Oh, my God.
One thing I must add is that some of these kids are actually also put on the street. And I want to give a bit of an example in a minute. They're put on the street and traded like a common prostitute, as we'd term it. And some of these kids had HIV, AIDS, they had contagious tuberculosis, they had hepatitis C and had scabies. They had life-threatening diseases. And these are children that were meant to be subject to care orders.
And these care homes that they were living, were they sort of part of the problem? Were they sort of trading the kids out?
The problem is they were never approached properly by the police. So when a child goes missing, a missing persons form is made out. So a kid would...
the care homes were complicit in this. They were
not really what I found. What I found was the system was more complicit than a care home. The care homes had never officially been approached by the dedicated police unit. So I would say to a care home, right, how many children have you got? Let's say 5, for example. Now, the problem is care homes have changed now, and we've got these, they're called, it's not assisted care, it's when they leave the care. And so it's usually about 15, 16. They go into these unregulated care homes. And the care home could be paid between £1,000 to £2,000 per week per child. So if you've got 5 kids that are vulnerable, maybe with issues, you could be getting 10 grand a week for them. Right, they would go missing usually on a Thursday. A car would be waiting for them at the top of the road. Sometimes the care staff even wrote down the number plate of the car. The kids would go off and they would usually be presented back about Tuesday, Monday, late Monday or Tuesday, but they would be in an unfit state because they'd be coming down from the effects of crack cocaine use, heroin use, and
it's just little kids.
Yeah, some of them had terrible sexual injuries. But the care homes at times were happy because while the kid was away for the majority of the week, they wasn't causing any trouble in the care home.
Right.
Social services were happy because the kid now was with what they thought was a boyfriend but really was a Romeo, a pimp. So the kid and had money.
So they turn a blind eye in the manner of these.
Totally. The whole system turns a blind eye.
So, John, tell us. So you're a serving officer. You went to your senior officers, your commanders, as it were. What happened?
I was told. So I compiled an intelligence report because the children were at risk of their life. Some of them. So I put in a report what was going on to the kids because there was only 2 of us appointed for London for this. And I was told by a senior officer for the unit, John, if this ever gets out, you will lose your home, your job and your children. This must not and will not ever get out. This will we all know what that means, the Met Police, past, present and future. If you speak to anyone about this, I guarantee you will be thrown to the wolves.
And again, what year would this have been?
2005, 2006.
And do you have reason to know this is still going on?
Well, of course it's going on because this level of criminality needs a proactive approach. It will not present itself like normal criminality. You need to go looking for it. And the police do not do that anymore. They're what they call fire brigade police. They wait for it to present itself.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They're not proactive. Yeah. And when did you leave the police?
I left the police officially in 2017. And
have you talked to the cops since then about this ongoing scourge?
The police knew about it. Hogan Howe knew about it. Cressida Dick knew about it. Right. It was even brought up by the Police and Crime Minister, Sir Mike Penning. He was even told to back away from it by Theresa May. So it goes right to the stop.
But if you went to the cops now, or if they came to you, you could provide them with addresses, how the system works. Maybe, I don't know. Do you know names?
I've got names. I've got phone numbers. I gave evidence in 2022 to the independent inquiry. Right, I provided the most comprehensive and lengthy statement of 52 pages, and it contained names, dates, intelligence reports, original notes. No one ever.
This is to the police. Have you or anyone else tried to take this information to the mayor's office?
Not to the. I've taken it to Parliament. I took it to the Home Office. That's the highest I went with it, and then it went nowhere.
This is what the London Mayor said of all of this. These accusations, this is what John's talking about, these accusations are false, malicious and politically motivated. The Mayor is committed to doing everything in his power to build a safer London for everyone, and has always been clear that all violence against women and girls must be treated with the utmost urgency, both by our police and society as a whole. What do you say to that?
Well, how despicable. You know, an absolute liar. The man is a total and utter moron. This criminality is going on and children are at risk for their lives when this carries on. It is unbelievable. To my knowledge, there is no dedicated unit. When I was removed from that unit, right, in think it was circa 2007, they never appointed anyone else to look at it until Jimmy Savile was exposed for what he was up to. They were embarrassed into doing something about it. They need to make crimes against children priority, sexual offending against children priority. I can show them. I can take them now. I guarantee them, within a small period of time, I will find them children involved in this crime.
So you presumably, though, when you were a serving officer and since then, you presumably always implicitly said, look, I've got all this information, come to me, I can help, and yet you've been rejected.
I've gone to main media agencies, that all the top papers have had this. It was only when Express picked up the lead, and I said, I've got it. But the biggest thing, Kevin, here is the inquiry had it. The Justice J, the ICSA inquiry had this in 2022, right? And after evidence was given, because I was one of the main call participants with Maggie Oliver, they went on about her stuff up north, not one mention.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that is?
They don't want it coming out about London. Once you open the lid on this, Kevin, you'll never put it back.
Bearing in mind that the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, is officially the head of the Met Police.
He is, yeah.
He's in charge.
He's the crime commissioner for London. He should be coming to me. He should be sitting down with me. He should want to stamp on this, but he's doing nothing.
And what do you think when you see him there obfuscating, acting? I mean, I think it's extraordinary. I mean, you know, by all means, I mean, it might be a lie, but if he wants to deny there's any rape gang activity in London, do so. But he's acting like he doesn't understand what the rape gang scandal is.
Kevin, when I watched that interview with Susan Hall, and he just engaged in a seminar of semantics, it was puerile, unprofessional and pathetic of a man of his standing, of his position, to play games, word games like that, when children at that very moment, and even now, are being pimped out on the streets.
So you're offering right here and now, if the Met Police want to get to grips with what you're talking about, you're available to help.
Yeah, and I'll tell you now, if I can find 10 kids in 10 minutes on my own, you think with national backing, national police backing, what we could do. We could really make these streets safer. And when you abuse a child, you don't just abuse that kid physically, you tear out their soul.
Yeah, God, it's an awful story to hear. But to summarise, I guess, London, in your expert view, does have a rape gang problem.
Massive. It is a huge rape gang problem, and those offending are of every ethnicity going, you know, and be of every gender going.
It's extraordinary. Well, listen, John, we'll keep in touch, and you know, we've got contacts at the police. We'll see if we can get them interested. They certainly should be, in my view. And listen, thank you very much for bringing us this really disturbing story. Have a think about that, folks. You got John Wedger here, a former Met Police detective. He's saying definitively, no ifs, no buts, London, like so many other cities and towns around the country, has a clear and present rape gang problem.
Can I have one last call out?
Please,
I want to address Mark Rowley.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, you knew what was going on with me. Mark was the assistant commissioner when I was in the midst of a four-year bullying campaign.
You spoke to him about it, yeah?
He knows all about this because he adjudicated over my retirement. He knows exactly what's going on here, and he pushed forward for my, my early retirement on this. So he knows. And I was saying, Mark, you're quite a reasonable guy when I dealt with you. Do the right thing. Do the right thing, and do the right thing for the citizens of this beautiful city and for the children, because they're being hurt, Mark, and you've got the boys and girls that can stop it, and I will help you to do that. I'll do that pro bono.
Well, thank you, John. I've got to say, for legal reasons, of course, Mark Rowley isn't here to respond to what John's saying. We will certainly get in touch with him. But let me know what you think about what I would suggest is a very disturbing story. Not from just anyone, but from a former Met Police detective who investigated this. And Sadiq Khan, he says, these accusations are false, malicious and politically motivated. I don't know what to say. John, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
John Wedger, former Met Police detective there and whistleblower. When we come back, we've got another police story coming up fairly soon about another one of these moments where the cops call on people and arrest them for tweets. So that's coming up in a little while. But next up, we're going to be talking about what I say is the scourge of digital ID cards. Their popularity is plummeting. Labour keeps saying, oh, well, the reason we should go ahead with this is because there's growing public support. A new poll reveals that something like minus 13% of the population like these things. So nobody wants them. We'll talk about that next. Thank you to John. We'll be back in a moment.
The next thing I'm waiting to hear is that the St George's cross, representing St George, who was a Turk, is a representation of how much we love all the Turkish barber shops that are cropping up on every high street corner.
We are the only country in the world that teaches the emblems of our nation, our nationhood, of our culture, of our history, of our people, are racist.
Yeah, I mean, I think this teacher went on to say, if I read the story correctly, that the St George's flag or the Union flag are not intrinsically racist.
That's nice.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Keir Starmer very keen, and all the Labourites very keen on calling Reform UK and Nigel Farage snake oil salesmen. Well, they're no slouches themselves, are they? They keep justifying this incredibly unpopular initiative to lumber us all, to impose on us all government-issued brick cards, digital ID cards full of information about us. Show us your papers, please. There seems to be a discrepancy. Come with me. That's what this is all about. This is about a socialist government keeping tabs on its citizens. Us, the people, subjugated, our individuality subjugated to the power of the state. We all get a state number. Anyway, they've been justifying this horror, which people absolutely hate, by saying there's growing public support for digital ID cards. The latest poll reveals that the public support for these cards, such as it ever was, has now plummeted to 13%. So 87% of the country hate them, are dead set against them. So don't listen to that claptrap about growing public support. In the manner of Labour, it is a barefaced lie. Meanwhile, this petition is a phenomenon. The petition to protest against them is a phenomenon. Over 2.5 million people have signed that signature. That petition. That is enormous. People hate this. Let's talk to social and political commentator James Melville. Hi, James.
Hi, Kevin. You well?
I'm very well. Very interesting, I thought, yesterday, that after his big initiative last week, in his speech yesterday at the Labour conference, Keir Starmer didn't mention digital ID cards once. There's two reasons for that, in my view. One could be that it was always a dead cat in order to distract us from all of Labour's other problems. And perhaps we shouldn't put too much store by them actually ever coming into play. And the other reason that he avoided mentioning it in his speech could well be this, that he has noticed, he has realised that the public, the British public, absolutely despise this idea. This petition is a phenomenon. And as I say, they say growing public support justifies digital ID cards. Public support for digital ID cards is now resting at an historic low, 13%. 87% hate them. Which of the two do you think it is? Dead cat, or he's realising he can't really bring these in? Just like Tony Blair did all those years ago in the early noughties. Tony Blair tried to impose them on us, and he was so horrified by the tidal wave of protest that he abandoned the whole idea. Do you think it could be that Starmer has realised these are just too unpopular to bring in, or is he just swinging a dead cat? Which one?
I think it's the latter. I think it is that. I've actually been very, very heartened by the backlash on this. Yes. Digital ID is actually so un-British. You know, what we want in this country is we want things to work. But I think we also want less government. And digital ID changes the relationship between government and the people. No one voted for this. It's got whiff of Orwellian control. And what does it start with? Trying to solve, in inverted commas, illegal migration, which it won't solve. And then it mission creeps onto things like the NHS or net zero, or, you know, what we're putting in our car, how much fuel, what food we buy, whether we buy a bottle of booze and so on. I think people see through this, and I think part of it is because immediately there was a groundswell of support against it. And then that spread. And I think people are also commentating in a very articulate way about all the problems with this, because you cannot have something that was not in their manifesto that gives more than a whiff of something out of, you know, communism in the 1970s and 1980s, or certainly China today. And people are now thinking, well, where does this end? You know, does it start with, you know, legal migration, which won't work? And could it end with even more government control? A Shoreship Papers government should never, ever apply in British society.
Now, when this signature first started, I was actually on air, and within about 3 hours, it was up to about 400,000. It is a phenomenon. This is big. The government, obviously running a bit scared, started saying, oh, well, no, you misunderstand. It's not, you know, big socialist state. It's not papers, please, dystopia. It's just for employment. It's just for workers, to make sure that when migrants, illegal migrants come across here, they can't work illegally. Well, they can't anyway, officially, because we have to have an insurance, a national insurance number. You have to have proof of residency. So we don't need this in any way to ensure that people don't work illegally, because they will. They always will. There'll always be a black economy with people working under the counter, whether or not you've got digital ID cards or not. So that didn't stack up. And within hours, old Lisa Nandy, old super brain, she was on, she's the culture secretary, by the way. Is she very cultural? I'll just put that out there. There she is on Question Time. This is soon after it's been proposed. And, you know, it's not just for work. She starts saying, well, you know, the way we see it is you'll have to use it for the NHS to see your doctor, social services, Then you had Shabana Mahmood at the Labour conference saying, oh, we envisage using it for all sorts of things. So what they're proposing is a digital ID card, a Brit card, as they're going to call it, that without which you will not be able to function in this country. You'll need that. And by the way, it will not just be civil. It will not just be the NHS, your doctor, social services, etc., etc. I'll guarantee you, whoever get these, the first thing the cops will ask for when they pull you up in your car or on the street, show us your papers, show us your digital ID card. There seems to be a discrepancy. Come with me, please. That's what this is all about. This is a big brother digital ID socialist dystopia that he's talking about. Tabs on us all. Socialist government keeping an eye on the individuals who live here, and the British people, as they say, up with this. We will not put. I think this, if he carries on with this, and I think he knows it now, it could be his poll tax.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've said this before. It feels like that. And already there's huge amounts of opposition to this. As I said, I don't think this is British at all. But we've actually been here before with vaccine passports. So do you remember the whole test and trace nonsense and the billions that were spent on that? So the machinery was put in place in some ways over COVID. And here we are now with something that wasn't in their manifesto. We don't know where this goes. The public don't actually want it. It won't solve the problems that they claim to fix. And actually, what they're often saying is that it's for your safety, it's for your security, it's for your convenience. These are the mantras of every authoritarian regime in history. Now, Tony Blair, whenever there's an issue like something like this, you know, there's other ones going on at the moment with him, Tony Blair has been advocating for this for a very long time. It started off with ID cards, it's now morphed into this. You know, his fingers are all over this. But what he doesn't understand, and what Keir Starmer is beginning to understand, is that British people just won't have it. And I would say to everyone, it will disappear if we keep saying no. We're not going to do this, because if we do this, it completely changes the relationship between governments who are supposed to serve and this, which means that they are mandating, enforcing, making it compulsory, and potentially risking a mission creep into other solutions wrapped around the auspices of digital ID that they have no right to do. Because I think we also need to have a wider chat with this as a catalyst, actually, about what is the relationship between government and the people. My view, and many others, is that governments are there to serve. And we need less government to serve better.
Yeah.
We do not need governments enforcing claptrap like digital ID, which the public don't want, and also it's unworkable in terms of the so-called solutions that they're trying to solve with digital ID. And I think, going back to the original point, Starmer's realised already that the public are against us.
Yeah, because
and I
because,
suspect
James,
if we keep the pressure up, this will suddenly be kicked into the long
It'll
grass.
dissolve, it'll go away, like even Blair is obsessed with these. He had to abandon it in the early noughties, and I suspect, I damn well hope, Starmer will have to as well, because it's not British, it's not necessary, and I believe, and I think you do too, I believe in the supremacy of the power of the individual over the power of the state. And this is all about making the state more powerful than the individual. We will all have a number. We will have a state number, and it won't just be about working. It will be about being able to see a doctor, being able to use the NHS, being able to do virtually anything in public life, social services, etc. And the police will ask you for your digital ID card if they pull you up. And Brits, as I say, they won't take it. It's not British. It's an assault on our traditional liberties. So everybody, me and James and all of you, let's keep up the pressure and just say no, no, no to these dystopian Soviet-style ID cards, all right? James, great to speak to you as always. Come on again soon. James Melville there, social and political commentator. What do you think? I think this is the power of the people. I think we are proving to this government we won't have these cards. We just won't have them. We're British. We don't do this sort of thing here. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. I think the power of the people can crush the government here and prove that we are more powerful than their beloved state machine. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. When we come back talking about overreach, we're going to talk about another. We've got a video of another copper. Coppers visiting a guy because he made some tweets. Arrested, you'll find this out, for allegedly inciting racial hatred. Guess what he did? He posted on social media pictures of the Palestine flag and he put F Hamas. So it was against Hamas. And he got arrested for that. We'll talk about this after this break. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, a lady called Deborah Anderson, if I remember rightly, an American lady visited by Thames Valley cops because she'd been posting troublesome tweets. And she said, you know, what have I done wrong? Anyway, the coppers said, oh, well, could you just apologise to the people that you've offended? And she said, well, it's not your job, is it, to get me to apologise to people who are offended? But the police seem to think it was. They're like the courtesy squad. Got to say, I'm so sorry I offended you. It's not an offence to offend people. People have no right not to be offended. There is no crime in offending people, OK? So, this is the story of a man in North Yorkshire. We've had this confirmed by the police there. You'll barely believe it. It's been published by the New York Post, funny enough, over in America. The police visited this guy a week ago on the 25th of September at his home in the middle of the night. I think it was about 9 o'clock, 9:30. We'll have a look at this.
Basically, our hate crime team reviewed it and said there are offences there we need to explore.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the time is 21:31. You are under arrest for what's referred to as Section 19.
Section 19?
I'll explain it in a second. You don't have to say anything, but how many defence you don't mention one question, some from which relates to any court. Everything you do say may be given evidence. Basically, the Section 19 refers to spreading what we say like racial hatred. So you've posted something online that we believe is spreading racial hatred.
Twitter, Facebook?
I can't explain too much. It's just to give you the context beforehand.
What, you're taking me away now?
Yes, so you're under arrest, so you're going to Harrogate, unfortunately.
You're taking me to Harrogate in the middle of the night over a tweet?
I am, unfortunately.
Is this what you signed up the police to do?
This is my role. I'm trying to be reasonable with you here.
So
if there's stuff you'd like to gather, I'm more than willing to allow you to gather some sort of stuff like medication, if you've got any numbers you need. But at the moment...
You join the police to go and arrest people at night for tweets online?
Go and catch some crooks, will you? Go and catch some bad guys, you know, doing real crimes. This is getting ridiculous. This is in Harrogate in North Yorkshire. North Yorkshire Police said, following receipt of a report, a man was arrested on the 25th of September on suspicion of publishing or distributing written material intended to stir up racial hatred. He has been released on bail while inquiries continue. Abandon the inquiries. They're a waste of time. This is what he did. He posted on social media memes, like it was a Palestinian flag, and he put on it, he emblazoned on the flag various messages. One was, you know, I won't say the whole word, but you can work it out yourself, the F word. F Hamas. He also put on the flag F Palestine and F Islam. But I find it interesting that the police are arresting him for saying F Hamas, this prescribed, forbidden, illegal terrorist group. F Hamas. He's getting arrested for saying that. Let's talk to the CEO of Fair Cop, former cop himself, Harry Miller. Harry, can you think of much more of a waste of police time than this?
Well, it's worse than a waste of police time. Listen, Kevin, if there were no crimes in North Yorkshire at all, there would still be no justification whatsoever for the police turning up at anybody's house to question them like they did, let alone at 9:30 at night in the middle of the bloody night. It's absolutely ridiculous. There is no reason at all for that. And what's interesting is if you watch the video, the police officers clearly have no idea what Hamas are. They've no idea that Hamas is a prescribed terrorist organisation. They are so out of touch. They operate like drones, unthinking drones. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want drones as police officers. I want thinking, thoughtful human beings who understand the law, for starters, and who have a basic grasp of current politics, particularly if you're going to go in and conduct a midnight raid on somebody because he's happened to say that Hamas needs to F off. Can you imagine in the 1960s or the 1970s or the early 1980s, 90s, saying, you know, criticising the IRA or the UDA and the police turning up on your doorstep saying, now, we can't have any of that. It's absolute, total and utter nonsense. And again, the last time that I looked, Hamas were a prescribed organisation. By telling them to get stuffed, who precisely or do we think that we are stirring up? Because Hamas aren't supposed to be here in the first place. And he's absolutely right. You're just supposed to you'd put that meme up there. If you support Hamas, if you support this terrorist group, then yes, please just bugger off to another country because you are not welcome here. And that's not me saying that. That's the government saying that. The government have prescribed Palestine action. If you support Hamas, you are against Britain. If you support Hamas, you are against the rule of law. So what on earth are the police doing? Operating as the proxy agents of Hamas and Hezbollah. It's absolutely crazy. Now, what I would do, Kevin, is this. I would start fining these officers. I would start putting very heavy fines on these officers who turn up without any reason, and I would start attacking their pockets, because I think it's the only thing that's going to concentrate their minds so that they stop and think, should I really be doing this? Fine them.
Yeah, I mean, if I was one of those coppers, I'd be having a good look at my career, because this is not what police should be wasting their time on. The guy in question is a 47-year-old man called Pete North. He said, I feel quite strongly that what political cartoons and memes I post on social media is none of the police's business. Nobody should be facing police inquiries for posting memes on Twitter. The whole point of this exercise, in my view, is not to win convictions. It is to terrorise people like me into thinking twice about posting spicy memes. Now, look, saying F Palestine, F Islam, F Hamas, I mean, I would have thought F Hamas, no problem at all. Those other Fs, you know, a lot of people might say, well, that's not a very nice thing to do, but that should not be against the law. The cops should not be wasting our taxpayers' money and their time visiting people, taking them down the station for hours on end because he said F Palestine and F Islam and F Hamas. And by the way, after hours of interrogation, poor guy must have been there till about 2 in the morning. He was released without charge. Investigations continue. The investigation continues. Well, look, if he's done it, he's not saying he didn't do it. It's there in black and white. If he's committed an offence, charge him. Don't, after 4 hours, let him go. What is this really about? This has got nothing to do with the criminal justice system. This is not about taking somebody in front of 12 of your peers to find out whether you're guilty or not. It never gets to the Crown Prosecution Service. It will never, ever see the inside of court. What this is about is teaching you that you need to watch what you say on Twitter. This is about keeping your opinions to yourself. This is a case of the process being the punishment. The police turn up at your place at midnight or in the early evening. They scare the life out of you. It takes someone with a fair amount of steel to go, you know what, screw you, I'm going to continue doing it anyway. Because the reaction of most people is to just shrink into themselves in absolute fear and to shut up. And we mustn't do that, Kevin. And I think this is like another example of two-tier policing, this the scourge of favouritism towards Islam, towards Muslims. Now, he said F Hamas, F Palestine, F Islam. If he'd have said F France or F Italy or F Scotland or something, no cops would have called at his house. This is, yet again, policing in favour of the Islamic community, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. You can say F Trump and F USA, all you like.
The police, I mean, the police we know were absolutely captured. They were enamored by the whole trans thing. So for a long time there, they were coming at anybody who said that trans women are in fact men. Well, they've moved on slightly now, and now their pet ideology is Islam, and it's Hamas, and it's Muslims, and all the rest of it. Now, I'm a Christian. If you want to say F Christians, I don't care, because this is a free country, and in a free country, any ideology, any religion you have to be able to mock it. Now, we had in the 1970s, we had the Life of Brian. You know, absolutely fantastic. It mocked Christianity, and I'm all for it. In the 2000s, we've had the Book of Mormon, mocking Mormonism, all for it. It's fantastic. But the one religion that you cannot mock or even criticize is Islam. And the police need to get over themselves, because they are very quickly becoming de facto Sharia enforcers.
Yeah.
Heavy on British. We need to stop it now.
Yeah, you're quite right. If you said F the Bible, F Christianity, the cops wouldn't be round. Harry, fantastic to talk to you as always. Thank you very much for your time. Harry Miller there, the Chief Executive of Fair Cop, former cop himself. What do you think about that? That is, as I say, as Harry said, you say F Christianity, F the Bible or whatever, they wouldn't be around your house. If you said F France, F Italy, they wouldn't be around your house. You say F Hamas, F Palestine, F Islam, they're round like a shot, take you down the station, 4 or 5 hours interrogation, no charges. It's, what do you reckon? 03444991000. When we come back, let's take a couple of calls. It's good to talk on Talk.
What he's doing. This is a Prime Minister who's circling the drain, who, according to a poll this week, is the most unpopular Prime Minister on record. Starmer knows he cannot beat Nigel at the ballot box, so he's embarked on the most, I want to say it again, extraordinary, coordinated attacks to incite violence against the man.
Across across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight to the phones. Let's talk to Matt in Cheshire. Hello, Matt. What would you like to say?
Hi, good evening, Kev. It's people in the last few days on Labour's mindless racism slurs.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? It's very. I said in my monologue earlier at the beginning of the show. It's a very depressing, sordid spectacle to behold, isn't it? These Labour politicians, they know what they're doing. They're just slinging baseless lies, slinging mud, because they know it'll stick, or at least they hope it will stick. I think it's disgraceful.
I was going online during the Brexit years, sort of having discussions, and the Nazi fascist tactic has been used since. It started when Corbyn became leader, and I don't even believe really that Starmer. It's his choice of words. I think he's being bullied into this kind of language by the lowlives around him.
It's a tactic, Matt. I think people are talking about Morgan McSweeney is allegedly strategically brilliant chief of staff who's clearly absolutely useless, because look at the state of this government. But yes, it's a plan. It's clearly a concerted, coordinated plan to try to come up with sentences. Nigel Farage in the same sentence as Hitler, Nigel Farage in the same sentence as racist, immoral, and so on and so forth. It's to try and make mud stick. So even though David Lammy said, oh, he was in Hitler Youth, and then later said, oh, I got that wrong, fair enough. He wasn't. As far as he's concerned, the mud has stuck. That's what this is all about. It is to demonise reform by throwing lies at them.
Yeah, we saw how that worked out for Corbyn and his supporters, though, when he got obliterated. And if this is a tactic, I mean, I don't think it's a tactic. I think it's just part of a mindless playbook. They've got no alternatives whatsoever. And when they're cornered, because they are literally so moronic, this is all they've got.
They've got nothing positive to say, Matt. So they have to hurl negative insults at their opponents. It is the tactics of desperation. They are on the floor, and this is all they've got left. And I think it will backfire on them badly. People are furious with it. Matt, good point. Thanks. Another great call from you, Matt in Cheshire. Let's quickly talk to Steve in Birmingham. Hello, Steve. Is it true that you think Kemi Badenoch is going to make a comeback?
I think Penny Morgan's going to make a comeback.
She's the one who thinks blokes in dresses are really women.
Well, you know what? You can't be no better than yesterday, can it? What an embarrassment to be English.
Well, it's the Labour an embarrassment. I think the Tories may well be over. I mean, they barely got mentioned yesterday. Reform are now the opposition. They've only got 4 or 5 MPs, but they're the ones making all the noise. They're the only ones that Labour are worried about. Kemi Badenoch, she's just an also-ran. She's in the wings. It's all over.
I don't know. I don't think so. You can't write them off. You can't write them off after yesterday.
Why not? Well, they didn't get a mention. Labour don't care about them.
They never even got
Penny Mordaunt. Penny Mordaunt.
Penny Mordaunt will come back.
She believes that blokes who put on dresses are women. She stood in Parliament. She stood in Parliament and she said, a trans woman is a woman. No, Penny, a trans woman is a bloke.
Correct.
In other words, we don't want her with that kind of belief, do we? With that nonsense.
Stand against him.
That's not conservative, Steve.
You got Lammy yesterday.
Never mind Lammy. Kemi Badenoch isn't coming back. The Tories must be over.
Penny Morton's going to come back.
She's no good. She's useless.
Oh, well, we'll have to see. We can't get no useless in what we've got.
Well, what about reform? Why don't you support reform if you want to oppose Labour? They're the ones everyone's talking about.
I want to support reform.
Well, go on. Why don't you do it? Never mind Penny Mordaunt. She's a waste of space.
there's too much being said about reform. There's too much racist being said about reform.
Well, that doesn't make them racist, does it?
No, but that's it. That's the only way that Labour...
Yeah, well, we know that. We know that.
But you know what, Kevin? I seen something yesterday on one... I'm not going to say which channel showed it, right?
Yeah.
Showing Lammy doing the Nazi salute. So let the public have a look at the picture.
Oh, I don't think David Lammy's a Nazi in any way whatsoever, nor is Nigel Farage anything to do with Hitler Youth, nor was he ever, even though David Lammy said he was. So Lammy, for all his faults, is not a Nazi. But you carry on supporting Penny Mordaunt, Steve. See where that gets you. Thanks for a good call, Steve in Birmingham. Penny Mordaunt, do me a favour. We're going to talk about Charlie Kirk when we come back and the danger of over-the-top rhetoric, political rhetoric. That next, stay tuned.
Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
According to Keir Starmer, if you think young men that illegally cross the English Channel should be detained and deported, you're racist. In fact, if you even criticise any element of the immigration policies of the last two governments, you're racist. And yet the Home Secretary, Shubham Mahmood, tries to copy our policies.
Patriotism, a force for good, is turning into something smaller, something more like ethno-nationalism, which struggles to accept that someone who looks like me and has a faith like mine can truly be English or British.
Britain is being invaded. Thousands of fighting-age men from countries that despise Britain continue to arrive on our beaches. Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. Immediate removal. Deportation is the ultimate deterrent.
Our flags flying proudly as we celebrate difference and oppose racism.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, reform supporters, reform voters, reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
We can all see that the country faces a choice, a defining choice. Britain stands at a fork in the road. We can choose decency, or we can choose division, renewal or decline.
To accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well,
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Who can forget that just 3 weeks ago, Charlie Kirk, the Conservative commentator in America, friend of Donald Trump, friend of J.D. Vance, was assassinated, shot to death for his political opinions. Many people feel that the reason for that shocking assassination was the dialing up of political rhetoric, the political discourse getting bitterer and more extreme, more incendiary by the day. Well, it seems to be going on here now, and you know, you've heard the Labourites, you know, Starmer and his gang, talking about the reform being racist, immoral, snake oil salesmen, don't like, but, you know, dialing up this attacking the man, vicious, low down, gutter trawling tactics. That's what they're doing. So a lot of people feel that if we're not careful, we'll get a Charlie Kirk situation ourselves, and the man in the frame, let's face it, since he's the target of all these Labour lies, he's a racist. He's not a racist at all. Doesn't like Britain. Of course he does. The target is Nigel Farage. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll introduce a guest and we'll play a few clips and we'll discuss them. So Charlie Kirk ran an organisation called Turning Point. They have an American, that's the American branch. We have a British branch over here called Turning Point UK. And from Turning Point UK, welcome to the show to John Yates. Hello, John.
Hello, good evening, Kevin. So it's Kevin. Really, really nice to be with you this evening.
Okay, mate. Now listen, we're going to play a few clips and then you can tell us what you think. First of all, Nigel Farage yesterday sort of delivered a rebuttal address after Keir Starmer spent an hour, in fact the entire conference, calling him a racist, Reform supporters are racists, immoral, you know, hate Britain, all that sort of stuff. Gutter trawling stuff. So this is what Nigel Farage said yesterday about the dangers of dialing up political rhetoric like this insofar as it can lead to violence and could lead to violence, did in the case of Charlie Kirk and could again, not necessarily on that side of the Atlantic. It could happen here. Here's Nigel Farage yesterday.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral. And by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists. Now, I don't normally worry about abuse being thrown at me. I've got kind of used to it over the course of the last few years. But to accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace.
Bear with us, John. I'm going to play a couple more clips as well. This was the rhetoric at the Labour conference being dialed up to an absurd, dangerous extent, I would suggest. This is the oafish Justice Secretary, David Lammy. Listen to this.
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public.
Here's the former Labour Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott wishing that Nigel Farage gets a kicking.
He's only got 5 MPs, and the danger is, I'm all for people giving him a good kicking. Wes Streeting did that this morning.
That's nice, isn't it? And finally, John, a lot of clips for us to digest here, but this is Reform UK's Zia Yousaf revealing that Nigel Farage has to have security everywhere he goes. The government pays for that because he's a party leader. It's been reduced incredibly by 75%. Have a look at this.
About it, but I think it is in the public interest that they know that just about 2 weeks ago, the authorities slashed the size of Nigel's security detail by 75%. The authorities cut Nigel's security detail by 75%. 2 weeks ago. That's why so many of us around Nigel are so worried. Now, I want to be clear and reassure people who, A, support Nigel, but B, all right-thinking people in this country who believe in sensible democratic politics in this country, that thankfully donors stepped in and have shored up that security, so Nigel is well protected. But the Prime Minister knows exactly what he's doing. This is a Prime Minister who's circling the drain, who, according to a poll this week, is the most unpopular Prime Minister on record. According to a poll this week, the majority of Labour members want to be replaced, and he's lashing out against the man that he knows. Starmer knows he cannot beat Nigel at the ballot box, so he's embarked on the most, I want to say it again, extraordinary, coordinated attacks to incite violence against the man who is the bookmaker's favourite to replace him at number 10 Downing Street. It's disgusting, and he should apologise.
Well, there you have it, John. Nigel Farage citing Charlie Kirk. David Lammy lying, saying that Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth, a ridiculous thing to say. Nigel Farage was born in 1964. The Hitler Youth, not surprisingly, ceased to exist at the end of the war when Hitler died in 1945. Diane Abbott wishing that Nigel Farage gets a kicking. And Zia Youssef talking about this dialing up of this rhetoric, the danger of it, and the fact Nigel Farage's security has been seriously reduced by the Home Office. But the main charge here is that if you dial up the rhetoric, as Labour are at the moment, against anyone, but particularly Nigel Farage, you could easily end up with a Charlie Kirk situation, right?
Yeah, very much so. I come from Northern Ireland, and you know, everybody understands what has happened in Northern Ireland in the past. And for many, many years, I mean, I'm now 56 years of age, and for many years in Northern Ireland, we did see respective politicians radicalising their respective followers against each other. And really what it resulted in here in Northern Ireland is people losing their lives. Now, when we go across the pond into America, and we all seen what happened to Charlie Kirk just a few weeks ago, I'm really going to talk about certain news channels, whether that be in America, whether that be here in the United Kingdom, in Northern Ireland. And, you know, you get these people, what I would call activists in the media, who would use all manner of untruth whenever that they talk about ordinary individuals with ordinary, genuine concerns. And what we've taken to doing ourselves would be to go out onto the street with a microphone to seek really what those concerns are all about. And we don't only stop, I mean, I'm a conservative, but we don't stop with talking to conservative people. What we try to do is that we try to go into, you know, people that would say, traditionally say, follow Labour or be known as, say, left wing. And you know, one of the interesting things that I find that whilst that there are the so-called radical left, a lot of the people that are following these type of ideologies, whenever that you do get to talk to them, whenever you're not stopped from talking to them by the stewards at certain events, well, when you talk to them, you get to understand that they have the same sort of concerns with reference what's happening in our country as we do. But there are those, you know, probably small in number and maybe increasing in number because of the type of rhetoric that politicians are, you know, spewing out. But there are those that we've seen it in the past. They take it upon themselves to really make it a vendetta against those that they're being radicalised against. And it's not all the time, Kevin, that what politicians are saying, what the activists and the certain mainstream media channels are actually trying to persuade people of. You know, it's.
But what I think you're saying there, John, is, and I would agree, is that if politicians start indulging in that rhetoric, this kind of incendiary rhetoric, it of course spreads to the people. In fact, that's what Keir Starmer wants to happen. You know, he wants to say, you know, put Farage in the same sentence as Adolf Hitler, racist, immoral, snake oil salesman, all of that. He wants that rhetoric to spread to the people, so the people start linking Nigel Farage with extreme Nazism, etc., etc. That's what he wants. Now, as we find out with Charlie Kirk, there can be serious dangers in that. Now, of course, you know, I happen to know that although the government has cut back on Nigel Farage's security, he is still well protected. They've found the money to fund his security themselves in Reform UK, and that's a good thing. But, you know, heaven forbid, but just suppose something bad happened to poor Mr. Farage. I mean, that would be down to Starmer and Labour and the kind of narrative that they've created in the past couple of weeks, particularly during the 4 days or so of the conference, where they really dialed it up. Shabana Mahmood, you know, Nigel Farage is worse than racist. Lammy, we're looking at there. He flirted with the Hitler Youth and so on and so forth. And, you know, this technique It's an old political technique. It's gutter trawling, but this is what they do. What Lammy did was the old 1-2. Oh, he flirted with the Hitler Youth. Everybody saying he was flirted with the Hitler Youth. That's extraordinary. Massive denial, of course, from Nigel. Less than an hour later, Lammy retracts it. Oh, well, he's denied it. I have to accept that. Should have apologised, but he didn't. But he retracted it. But by then, the plan has worked. As far as they're concerned, the mud has stuck. Well, that's not. Well, it's not fair enough. But okay, that happens. But if you're going to indulge in those tactics, we know what can happen. The people pick up on it. They start saying, I'm going to do something about this Nazi Nigel Farage, just as they did with Charlie Kirk. I'm going to do something about this fascist, this Nazi. I'm going to do something that's racist. And it leads to violence. Labour are indulging in a very dangerous game here, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And, it's not really just concerning what it is that people are being labelled with and what people are being called. But we've got to look at it right across the board. And I did notice there just before that I come on, you had someone on there talking about being, someone was arrested for mean tweets.
Tweets, yeah.
Yeah, and then when it gets
tweet
to...
police, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then when it gets to, and I'm going to use the name of the BBC, say, for example, and I'm going to specifically say here in Northern Ireland, whenever it comes to, people with genuine concerns, let's say, for example, with reference to what I call the uncontrolled, uncontrollable, unquantifiable, and most importantly, the unidentifiable type of immigration that is coming into your country. And, and there has been things happened here in Northern Ireland where people have been arrested for, certain people, young ladies, specifically in Ballymena, where they were, sexually assaulted by people. And then when people go out to, protest against them, then they're being labelled by, again, I'm going to say this term, activists in the media, who have an alignment, I would say, with the likes of the Labour Party here in Northern Ireland, with parties just like the Labour Party, for example, the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin, and even one of our own so-called unionist parties who would be, accepting of a lot of these things that they're saying, which isn't really reality whenever you look at them. And it's really unfair because people have been attacked here in Northern Ireland for what it is that they're being labelled. Now, I'm going to say it's particularly unacceptable whenever that we have a prime minister, the so-called leader of a country who is meant to be there to serve and to protect the entire population of the United Kingdom. And yet, whenever you get that type of rhetoric from that man's mouth, is he a leader? Is he a prime minister? Is he serving and protecting the people the way that he's actually put in place to do?
Yeah. And in Ballymena, were there those riots because a couple of young Romanian migrants, I think they were accused of a sex crime. The rape of a young local girl. It was the leader of Sinn Féin, and the police described the rioters as racists, racist thugs. Well, I would suggest that's not true. They were reacting to the sexual assault of a local girl. To call them racist thugs, again, incendiary and inaccurate. So we've got a problem here. I'll tell you what, John, explain to me what Turning Point UK stand for.
Right, well, Turning Point is a conservative movement, largely Christian in their beliefs. They believe in the Judeo-Christian values that the West was built upon. One of the cornerstone, or the cornerstone of what Christianity really is free will, Kevin. And free will, as opposed to what it is that we seem to be getting now from some Western world governments. And Keir Starmer and his government seems to have adopted like a totalitarian style approach to everything. there's no really talking to people. It's just really dictating what it is that people should have. And, it's kind of on a put up or a put up or shut up sort of approach that they're trying to force things into place. I mean, one example would be what has happened in the past few days with this introduction of digital ID.
Yeah.
And, if you've been monitoring things, well, you'll see what the natural progression of this digital ID would be. Digital ID, CBDC, central bank digital currency, the cashless society, the digital payments for everything, the monitoring of absolutely everything. And then if we look at, for example, what has happened in China with the social credit system, and that is the natural progression of this type of thing, well, it only leads to complete control of every single aspect of every single person's life. And, I would choose, and this is me getting back to what it is that Turning Point UK espouses, is the cornerstone of the Judeo-Christian values, which is free will. In the Bible, it talks about choose you this day whom you will serve. It doesn't say that you have to serve God. It's giving you the choice to do so. And I know that I would choose that every day of the week. And as they say in Northern Ireland, twice on a Sunday.
Listen, John, good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Come on again soon. That's John Yates from Turning Point UK. Let's see. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll take your calls, WhatsApp voice notes. I'll read some of your messages. So the rest of the show's down to you. Let me know what you think about this dialed-up rhetoric. As so many people are saying that Keir Starmer and his crew have taken British politics into the gutter. We have plummeted into the gutter with this. It's just not true to call Nigel Farage and millions of Reform UK supporters racists. It's not true to say Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's not true to say that he hates Britain. It's not true to say that they're all snake oil salesmen. This kind of rhetoric, let me know what you think about it, and let me know whether you think it's dangerous, because the consensus is it's very dangerous. Also, let me know what you think about that video we showed you. Isn't it about time the police just stopped knocking on people's doors in the middle of the night and saying, oh, you sent a tweet, not very nice, it's inciting racial hatred. Aren't you allowed to say, if you don't like a country, or in this case Palestine, aren't you allowed to say F Palestine? If I do actually like France, but suppose, I hated France. What, am I allowed to say F France? You should be able to, shouldn't you, in a free society? So it's like the police, this inciting racial hatred. It seems now to be a way of policing whether or not we're allowed to be nasty about other countries. Surely we can say F France or F Italy or whatever, can't we? It's not very nice, but should it be against the law? Should it be what police are wasting their time with? Taking that guy down to the police station for 4 hours or whatever it was. Hasn't been charged, by the way. I bet he isn't either. They're policing, what we do on social media, what we say. That lady a couple of weeks ago, Deborah Anderson, Thames Valley Police, knocking on her door saying, you've posted something, it's offended someone. So she goes, so what? Well, why don't you apologise to them? It's not the police's job to tell people to apologise. And if you offend someone, that's not against the law. It's not an offence to be offensive. What do you think about this? The police patrolling the tweets and not the streets. Terrible crimes are going on all around us. We know that. And yet, up there in Harrogate, the cops are wasting their time going, did you post something nasty about Palestine and Hamas on social media, on Twitter, while you're under arrest? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Finally, let me know what you think about the migrant crisis. By tomorrow, I think we'll know that more than 2,000 migrants have come across the channel since Saturday. Vast numbers coming across in these huge new mega dinghies, 125 people. One in, one out. What the hell is that all about? France have returned to us 3 migrants. We've sent 6 over to France. 2,000 have come across illegally in small boats, not very small boats, since Saturday. What on earth is one in, one out all about? What is it supposed to be? They say it's a deterrent. It palpably, obviously, is not a deterrent. They're coming across like an armada. Thousands of them. What's it all about? What should we do to solve the migrant crisis? What would you do? 03444991000. We're going to go to break now. Your calls after these messages and your messages and your WhatsApp voice notes. All that's still to come, so stay tuned.
They've only got really 3 years to wait out until there's somebody else in the White House. And if it's a Democrat, they're in a great place because 8% support for Israel among Democrats at the moment, 6% if you drop to the youth age groups. And there's every chance that they could then leverage that at the UN Security Council and so on and so forth. So if I'm Hamas right now, I'm handing in my weapons, I'm claiming that I'm standing down. I'll send a few people to take one for the team and emigrate. And then I'm just going to wait, bide my time, reload, and then try and seize control of Gaza.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This just in, the doom goblin Greta Thunberg and her global summered flotilla, this convoy of boats that have sailed across the Mediterranean to Gaza. They're a mile off the coast of Gaza. Of course, the Israeli military have had to intercept them and board. They're boarding some of these vessels. They're going to stop them. They'll have to arrest them, waste everyone's time. These idiots on this flotilla posting, "High alert, our vessels are being illegally intercepted." Yeah, well, just as well they are, because they're saving your damn lives, you absolute idiots. Cameras are offline and vessels have been boarded by military personnel. email. We are actively working to confirm the safety and status of all participants on board. There are more than 500 of these activists on board. Around 45 boats, maybe even more than 50. And once again, because she did this, didn't she, a few weeks ago, the Israelis have had to go out to sea to intercept these stupid idiots in order to save their lives. Honestly, so pathetic. Grow up, Greta, for God's sake. Right, let's play a WhatsApp voice note, shall we? This is Anna on Nigel Farage.
Kev, I'm going to speak very honestly. I don't think it matters anymore if Farage did flirt with the Hitler Youth. I don't think it matters if Farage is considered right-wing. I think things are so bad out here that he would get voted in anyway. I don't think it matters what Starmer said. I think the next few years is irrelevant.
It's an interesting point, Anna, but let's get this straight. He didn't flirt with the Hitler Youth. It's ridiculous. I think what you're getting at is these lies that have been told about him won't stick, and I think you're right. I think they'll backfire. I think people are going to go, Hitler Youth, don't be so ridiculous. But it won't stop these Labour idiots trying, will it? Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Chris in Epsom. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Kevin. Couple of quick things to say before I get to the meat, which is Starmer. First of all, I think Lammy was just throwing mud about the Hitler Youth thing because for the simple reason that the Second World War is not taught in the history curriculum at schools anymore. So whilst they might have heard of Hitler, they won't have known of the dates or what exactly it was, and you throw enough mud and it'll stick, and that's the young vote. Secondly, John Wedger that was on, my God, he made tears come to my eyes. I think he and his intel are in grave danger, and I would ask him, if he was listening to this now, to find a decent law firm or two law firms and make sure he has a backstop to his intel. God forbid anything was to happen to him.
Well, I hope not, but...
No, I hope not too, but what he's got on people, you know, some of the names he mentioned, very, very powerful people.
What?
Now, Starmer, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. He hasn't taken it into the gutter, he's taken it down the bloody drain, Kevin.
Yeah, you're right. It's worse than the gutter. It's bottom crawling, this is, isn't it?
Oh, listen,
gutter trawling, bottom crawling. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what they're doing, and I think people can see straight through it. People are quite sophisticated these days. This is the multimedia age. People know what this party are doing. They know what they're doing. In the past, politicians used to get away with this claptrap because people weren't quite up to the media games that party politics plays. But now they do understand it, and they know what Labour are doing. They're just telling lies and hoping mud sticks.
I absolutely agree with you. The frightening thing is that Nigel was so measured in his response that he mentioned Charlie Kirk, but he didn't need to. If you cast your mind back to the woman that chucked the milkshake,
banana milkshake, right?
Yeah, but then Joe Brand on stage, that fat, unfunny comedian, said it's a shame it wasn't battery acid.
Yeah, she said that on the radio.
Which emboldened another guy, I think it was Liverpool, to chuck a lump of concrete at him. These things pick up speed, and Nigel's right, there's more than just Antifa. There are some horrible, I'm not going to mention their names, we know who they are, the hard left that are creating this. And, it's disgusting that our country has been lowered to this.
It is. We've been taken down the gutter by Labour in the last couple of days. But the only good thing about this, Chris, is I think people have worked it out. People can see what's going on, and I think it's going to backfire badly on Labour. Look out for the polls at the weekend, and we'll find out just how successful Labour's campaign to link Farage to racism, Hitler, immoral snake oil salesman and all that. We'll see how successful it's been. My guess is, my hunch is that the polls will reveal that Reform are more popular than ever and Labour will have gone down even more. So that's the way I think it'll go. But good points, Chris. Always good to talk to you. Thanks for the call. Always good to have you on board. Let's go to Scott in Essex. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Kevin. Can we get off this mad merry-go-round? I'm getting dizzy.
Which particular mad merry-go-round?
well, Labour for a large part, but it's all the rhetoric that the Labour's shouting out, and people are getting arrested for hurty words. There's a lot more hurty words coming out of Labour than anywhere else.
That's a very good point. It's a good point. So some guy posts F Hamas, he gets arrested, but Keir Starmer and his crew, they're allowed to go around, linking Farage to Hitler and talking about racism and all that. They're allowed to lie. And yet somebody says F Hamas, they get arrested and told they're inciting racial hatred. What is that all about?
It's their rhetoric. They can't confront an argument. They can't debate anything. So since they cannot win, they attack the person. They attack the identity. They start using these nasty words, which is... There's a wonderful meme on the internet, if you can actually find it, which is a black and white video where someone reads from the Communist Handbook just after the Second World War. And it states clearly, if you come across any dissident, anyone who disagrees, anyone who doesn't conform, use the nasty words fascism, Nazi.
It's straight out. It's straight out of the socialist playbook. Call all your opponents Nazis, fascists, racists, and hope that people go along with it. I just don't think people are going along with it. I think people can see straight through what Starmer's trying to do, what his cabinet crew are trying to do, and they're not buying it. They're not buying into this. So in that respect, I think, Scott, it will backfire.
Hopefully, and sooner rather than later. I don't think we can stand another 3 years of this.
Oh, God, don't even remind me. I think it's four, isn't it 4? I think it's pretty much 4 years.
Don't know, help.
Listen, Scott, stay strong, mate. Good call, thank you. Scott in Essex. It is pretty depressing, isn't it? 4 more years of this shambolic government. Let's listen to Mark on the migrants. What's that voice note here?
Near enough 2,000 in 4 days. I mean, this is just getting out of hand, Kev. It's absolutely insane at this point. The vast majority of people in this country want these third worlders gone. We want them out of this damn country. We're paying for them. It's costing us an absolute bloody fortune. And quite frankly, I'm getting to a point where I would love somebody like, one of our old kings, maybe Henry VIII or somebody. Because if this was happening in his time, and you know what they'd do with them? They'd put them in stocks, flog them, and then send them packing. That's what we were doing back then. And I'd love to see that these days, instead of this namby-pamby bloody nonsense that they keep doing. Absolutely sick and tired of it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Good one, Mark. That's another thing. No one is buying the fact that Labour are in any way, even remotely, beginning to tackle the migrant crisis. They're lost. They're drowning, if I can use that analogy. They're drowning in their own love of human rights, their desire to stay in the European Convention of Human Rights, their desire to be subordinate to the European Court of Human Rights, their desire to carry on giving these migrants everything we possibly can, free food, free accommodation, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, etc., etc., etc. With all that, they can't solve it. They just can't solve it. They're just giving us words, verbiage, word soup, word salad. It doesn't mean anything. It is nonsense. Tough talk, no action. Tough talk, but very, very weak policies. It's as simple as that. Ain't going to work. Should we talk to Grace in London? Hello, Grace.
Hi. I was interested to hear your talk with the guy from Turning Point.
Yeah.
I would slightly query some of the way that he put things across, although maybe I'm slightly misunderstanding some of it. It's certainly true that the Bible tells us to choose this day who we will serve, and that none of us are obligated to choose God, but we have that choice available to us. We can either choose to follow Jesus or not, and that's a decision that we
free country.
Well, yes, and even if we weren't, God has given us that freedom. But I would slightly disagree with the way that, maybe it's just me misinterpreting how he said things, but he said ultimately that the crucial point of Christianity is free will, and that's not the crucial point of Christianity.
Is it not?
No, the foremost point of Christianity is to follow Christ. That's what it's ultimately
Well, it's
about.
not a good selling point, is it, for Christianity, that your free will isn't as important as other factors. I regard my free will as supreme.
Well, the point of Christianity is that you can choose to follow Christ, and you have every right to not do that. But the point of Christianity ultimately isn't that free will is
Wouldn't it be, Grace? I don't really want to get into a kind of religious ecclesiastical discussion, but wouldn't it be that if you believe in God, that the Lord has given us free will, and that is so that we can exercise free will as we want to?
It is, but it's kind of to believe that actually what we want ourselves isn't always the most important and best thing. We believe that God knows better than we do, for example. The point of Christianity is that Jesus died for us because we do make mistakes. We are flawed. And so just to prioritise our free will above everything else is a right that you have the right to think that, but that's not in itself Christianity. And I mean, one verse in the New Testament is everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has put in place. So obviously if Starmer were to do something evil, then we should put God's law above Starmer's. But let me ask you this, Grace.
One question. What religion are you? Because you're always phoning about this. What religion? What is your church?
I attend a Baptist church.
Okay,
I don't think the denominational label.
So I really didn't want to go down this road, but I just want to ask you one question. If God is running the show, why did he create people like me who don't believe in him?
He's given you the choice. I mean,
yeah, but that's not very good for him. If he's running the show, why wouldn't he create people who all believe in him?
Because he's not just a dictator that wants to force people.
Well, he is a bit of a dictator, isn't he?
No, he's given you.
He's
the
God
right
Almighty. He's God Almighty. He's the Almighty. There is nothing more supreme than him.
Do you think that you don't believe because you don't want to, or because you don't think there are good reasons to believe?
I cannot for the life of me believe in it all. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no proof there's a God. There's no proof there's a heaven. There's no proof there's a hell. I'm a literal-minded person. Show me the evidence and I'll believe in it. If you haven't got evidence, I won't believe in it.
How do you define proof and evidence? Because
well, show me. Where's heaven? Where's God? Where's the proof of it?
Heaven is not confined to
Look, Grace. I like these kind of discussions, but I can't carry on doing it tonight.
I'm not instinctively a spiritual person myself, but I found when I was studying. No, I'm not. I was growing up with a Christian family, but I thought I don't really believe this. But it was when I'm studying science that I saw that there were actually reasons to conclude that it couldn't have come about without a designer because of the interdependence of biology.
Well, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. Of course, you're just seeking. You're seeking a reason. You're seeking an explanation. The truth of creation, in my view, or the universe, if you like, it's just a chaotic happening. Nobody designed it. Nobody caused it. Nobody caused it. You know.
How much have you studied science yourself?
Huh?
How much have you studied science yourself?
What do you mean by that?
Well, as I was saying,
you can't prove that anybody caused the universe, can you?
I'm wondering how you define proof. As I was saying,
I know how I define proof. Proof is proof. You can't prove it. You can't prove, and if you can't give me any evidence, I'm not going to believe in it. I'm not going to believe in it. I wish I could believe in God. I just don't see any evidence he's around. And if he's supposed to be, a force for the good, what the hell is he doing to the world right now?
Well, human beings are making a mess of the world.
Well, he's the one in charge. He created us. Why didn't he make us better? None of this stacks up, Grace. It doesn't to people like me. But of course, I respect your faith. I respect everybody who believes in God and is religiously inclined. But I'm just not. I'm sorry. But do keep calling. I like these kind of discussions. But I've got to go for now. Thanks for calling, as always, Grace. Well, there you go. That's a bit of a diversion there. What's that thing you say? Things you never discuss over the dinner table, politics and God. So there we are, breaking at least... Well, actually, we're breaking all the rules, aren't we, tonight, talking about politics and God. Do you believe in God? Give me a call, 034... No, don't call me about that, but call me about anything else. 0344499 1000. Back in a minute.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Breaking news, the Doom Goblin and her gormless gang, that flotilla, have now all been transferred to an Israeli port after it was intercepted by Israeli military, and they have been safely stopped, so taken to safety again. Now can they all grow up and stop wasting everybody's time? It's pathetic, isn't it? Anyway, Greta's safe, so are the rest of her childlike protesters. Now, let's go back to the phone, or let me read a couple of messages, shall we? This is from Steve in Sussex. Kevin, if a man gets arrested for a tweet criticising Hamas, inciting racial hatred, how in hell can Labour, Starmer, Lammy, Abbott all get away with calling us Nazis, members of Hitler Youth, and saying Nigel Farage should get a good kicking? Why are they not arrested for racial hatred? However, I do think this has done reform so much good. Never poke the bear, i.e. the British law-abiding people. You're right, Steve. The British people, all the people who support Farage and people who support their immigration policy, crisis. They don't like the fact that in effect Labour are calling them racists and Neanderthals. You know what I mean. Right, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Jason in London. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Kevin. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, good. Steve, what Steve just said there, I'm gonna report Keir Starmer, Shabina Mahmood and David Lammy for upsetting me, because they're calling me a racist. They're calling me this, they're calling me that. Someone was reported for saying F Hamas.
Yeah, I know. I just did the story. I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm offended by them. I'm going to Bromley Police Station in the morning. And
you're going to report them, are you?
Yes, I'm going to report all three of them because I'm offended by what they said.
Yeah, well, I should warn you. I should warn you that technically it's not an offence for you to be offended, if you know what I mean. But the police don't quite seem to realise this, so you probably do quite well if you go and tell the police that you've been offended by something.
Yeah.
They might sort of tell. They might tell Keir Starmer to come and apologise to you.
I wouldn't mind that, yeah.
All right, mate. Well, listen, you go to Bromley Police Station, and why don't you give us a call tomorrow night and let me know how you got on, yeah?
I'll just say another point, Kevin.
Yeah, go on quickly. Go on, mate.
I hope Keir Starmer, I hope they all carry on because a lot of my friends and family didn't normally vote, but now he's making everyone go out for votes.
I think you're right, Jason. I think he's galvanised millions of people by offending them, by in effect calling them racists. You know, if you support reform, if you don't have to support reform, you could just support their policies. A lot of people aren't necessarily reform voters or reform members, but they do support Nigel Farage's approach to the migrant crisis. I do, for example. And we're all called racists, and people don't like that. They really don't. I think it's going to backfire badly on Starmer. Let's hope so. Jason, let me know how you get on at Bromley Police Station. Give us a call tomorrow. Jason in London there. Let's go to Stephen in Nottingham. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, mate. It's really good to hear you.
Yeah.
It's nice to speak to you.
Good to speak to you. What would you like to say, mate?
I would like to say Starmer is sending Blair to Gaza. Perhaps he should think about sending himself and take his little book with him.
What little book?
The book what says how to destroy a country.
How to destroy a country. Yeah, he's written that book. And I don't know if he's written the book. He's certainly acting it out.
Well, he wrote a book on human rights, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think it was called How to Destroy a Country, was it?
No, but it's done it though.
I didn't. I just said that. I think he's busy destroying this country, but I'm not sure he's written a book about it. But perhaps he should, because he's certainly an expert on the topic. Stephen, good point. Thanks for a good call, Stephen in Nottingham. There, we're going to go to some more calls in just a second. But let me know what you feel about the migrant crisis. I should say that. At 10 o'clock, or it's fairly soon, we'll be ending the show. And then it's Harry Cole Saves the West. Harry Cole Saves the West. That starts straight after the 10 o'clock news. So we're going straight over to Washington for Harry's new show right here on Talk. And then later on, as we go through the night at 11 p.m., at 11 p.m, we hand over, or Harry Cole will hand over the reins to Petri Hoskin. He'll take you through till 1 a.m. into the small hours. So much still to come. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Pete in Chester. Hello, Pete.
Hi, Kevin. First time I've spoken to you.
Oh, good,
good. Recently, there's been two direct, violent threats against Nigel Farage. One was Jo Brand, when she said...
Yeah, we talked about that earlier when she said that, she wished the banana milkshake was battery acid. Yeah.
The second one was, I was watching Newsnight last night. And
that was a mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but I like to see the other side.
Yeah.
And
were you having trouble sleeping? It sent you straight off, I bet.
She actually said...
Well, this is Diane Abbott. I hope that Nigel Farage gets a good kick in, yeah?
I mean, how are these people being allowed to get away with this? We had Lucy Connery, who was sent to prison for 31 months for a tweet. And we have people, in my opinion, inciting... I just hope it doesn't...
Well, I mean, it's arguable that with this rhetoric, you know, racist, snake oil salesman, immoral, give them a kicking, and so on and so forth, Hitler Youth. It is arguable that with this incendiary rhetoric that Labour are now indulging in, that they are guilty of inciting potential violence. Definitely, I totally agree. You know, I don't want to get too sort of pious about this. I mean, politics is a dirty game. I've got no problem with politicians, you know, going at each other, hammer and tongs, you know, not so much calling each other names, but being very, very forceful in what they say about each other. But when they start using lies, when they start using blatant tactics, you know, let's smear them, let's demonize them by putting them in the same sentence as Hitler, by calling them racist, then that, I think, is over the top. It is the politics of the gutter. But it's also, Pete, obviously, in Labour's case, the politics of desperation. They got nothing else.
They're desperate.
Yeah, they're desperate. That's why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it.
Do you not think this has reached levels now that we've never seen before? Come on,
I'm not. Yeah, I mean,
democracy.
It seems like a low point to me. Seems like a low point to me. I mean, it's not unheard of for politics for politicians to deal very, very low blows to their opposition.
Yeah, it's a dirty game. It's a dirty game.
But this is
now.
Yeah, but
come on. I just think they were desperate.
Well, they're desperate, and they're like cornered rats. They're lashing out desperately, terrifyingly. They're terrified and they're lashing out because they don't know what else to do. They've got nothing positive to say about themselves because they haven't achieved anything positive. So they're attacking their opponents in a very underhand way. Pete, good points. I've got to go.
Kevin, can you just answer one more point, which I really don't understand? Go on. Why did Nigel... Right, the Hitler Youth comment yesterday.
Yeah.
Lammy said he's denied the... Hold on. It wasn't for him to deny something that wasn't true.
Well, he did deny it, though, and so...
yeah, but he did, but it shouldn't have been said in the first place.
Well, no, I know that, obviously, yeah. But it's a tactic. It's a tactic. Mention him in the same sentence as Adolf Hitler, and you've scored a hit. You know, people start thinking, oh, Nigel Farage and Hitler. That's the idea. It's guilt by association. They're telling lies. It's a damn disgrace. Let's very quickly, thanks, Pete, very quickly talk to Martin in Yorkshire. Martin, I haven't got long. What would you like to say?
Hey, Kevin, great show as always. Well presented, mate.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a former police officer, and I just wanted to say my opinion of why the police have descended into the state that they are now, which is ideologically driven in the decision-making at ground level, and it's due solely down to recruiting. The prerequisite for entry now is a university degree. When I was on shift, we had 3 ex-coal miners, we had 5 ex-servicemen.
A lot of ex-servicemen, yes, that's right. In other words, in the old days, when coppers were good coppers, you had to have a degree in the University of Life, the University of Hard Knocks. Now you have to have a degree from the University of Oxford, and the result is our coppers are much, much worse. Good point, Martin. Thanks for calling. I've got to go because the show's about to end. Give me a call tomorrow. Martin in Yorkshire there, former copper. Now, that's pretty much the end of the show. I am going to be back tomorrow with another edition of the Political Asylum. That will start at 7 p.m. And, of course, I expect you to join me. We're going to have another crackerjack show. So much going on at the moment. It's been great to have your company tonight and, indeed, throughout this very eventful week. I hope you found my company vaguely acceptable because you have to put up with it again tomorrow. But in the meantime, stand by for Harry Cole Saves the West. That's next, live from Washington.